The Barrington Planning Board. First order of business is starting with the roll call. Starting with Scott.
Present. Tessier here.
Present. Driscoll here. Also with us is Town Planner Ernest Creveling, Zoning Administrator James Jennison, and our guests Steve Whitman and Mark Fourgier. Thanks for coming, guys. Public hearing for proposed zoning amendments for 2026. Click below. 25, okay. Everybody get a copy. We're all set. Would you guys like to present? Sure. Thanks.
You guys grab the mic, it'd be great.
And come on, there's a button on the bottom to turn it on.
Just grab it.
Yeah, I can't do everything. There we go. We're asking a lot of that. I remember, I'm retired. I can.
Thanks, man. Thank you. Talk too close.
Okay, yeah, there's some of these, I read what you were sent online, and there are like a couple of them I don't even understand why we.
Ready? So it seems like you have a pretty straightforward packet related to the town center. We looked over a few of the items that were still flagged with questions and sent some responses to Ernie today. Just thought we could talk with all of you and try to get some clarity for you at this public hearing so that you can have a more complete packet for the next public hearing. So, and aside from that, any other questions you want feedback on or want to brainstorm, we're happy to do that. So basically there were four things that we saw that we wanted to just chime in on. One was in 337. It seemed like there should be a reference to the map, to the sub-district map for phase one. And we just didn't see it clearly displayed that people should look for that. Knowing that this is just the first phase of a different type of regulation for the town center.
I mean, this covers, you know, the northwest section of that corner where the remaining three sections are still under the old town center. So you almost have two town center regulations. You have the northwest pie, I guess, right?
And everything else.
And everything else.
Right.
So it just, I think if someone's reading it, just to help it provide clarity, there might be some reference to the map or something so that, like, why is there two town center regulations?
You said in 337?
Is that an extra pen?
That was our note. Was
The preservation and renewal of any historic building shall be a priority, and historic character shall be preserved and enhanced by context-sensitive construction during renovation or construction? Am I?
Hold on.
The town center section starts at 336, and then this phase one starts at 337.
Sorry, I don't know if I'm looking at something different than.
In zoning.
I was looking at that.
Here's the document that was completed on the work session on Friday. This
The one that's in my mail. Yeah, that's what I'm looking at, isn't it? Right here?
Yeah.
Which three.
Just say in zoning, town center falls under the heading of 336.
Oh, zoning amendment 8, is this what we're talking about?
Yeah.
337?
Yeah.
I'm looking at this one, but it doesn't jive.
Glad you asked. It should jive.
Yeah. Cheaters are killing me.
I know. We're all in the same boat. So that's a pretty easy one, I think, to
We'll have
fix.
Title it something, phase one, town center, FTC map.
Yeah, and we are happy to add whatever you want for a title to that draft map that we sent to you today.
I think this would help people clarify a little bit, so.
Might reduce the phone call to you.
Is it advisable and easy to change the name altogether to a different zone?
Would you have something in mind, Jamie?
I just, I've always,
Actually, that's not bad.
more zones add boundaries as opposed to confusion of.
Right.
No, you can't be too clear with zoning. Yeah.
Am I phase one, am I phase two, am I coming soon? I don't know.
No, that's a good
Well,
question.
well, Caleb's on the south side, so that
Oh,
might be,
Yeah, I'm not good at math.
yeah.
But I'm good, I can be creative with something else.
Anything that helps simplify it for all of you who are going to be helping
I mean,
applicants.
it's noted as phase one, so if there's something that everyone would know in the community, in that corner, that's a better name than phase one, that would be helpful.
If not, at the end of the day, it's probably a fairly small number of applicants, and if you decide to proceed with any additional area, you'll clean this whole thing up, so you
Right.
don't have the duplication.
Right.
The other item that we found was in 3361B. And I think this is just related to the same idea that we have this new phase one and we have the other underlying town center. And so just clarifying that if you're going to do a residential development, you don't have to do it through a PUD for the town center
In this section,
in this section.
phase one.
Yeah. Yeah, and then part of this is just the reality of what we're talking about, that there's a little confusion.
Where are you seeing the phase one, phase two piece?
The title of the ordinance.
Under zoning amendment 8?
It's a few different documents, so it depends which one you're looking at.
It's in the title.
This one?
Yeah, you have one. it's
Zoning
got
amendment 8.
Several, 15 pages, and it's not for tonight's meeting, it's for next week.
Yeah.
So the one that's got the two articles on it and the town center ordinance.
Yep.
That's the one.
And when we're referring to the numbers, we're referring to where Ernie had inserted it into the full zoning, and so it's the AAA packet that was sent around. I don't know if they have that, Ernie.
I didn't send, I sent them that digitally.
Okay,
Printed all out.
that's fine. So, yeah, we could try to clarify between the two.
Understand, Mr. Knapp, the idea was to carve out a section of town center to do the first phase to see if this, if adopted, works. That's why it's the phase one. Is that?
It doesn't make any, like, for my pea brain, it just doesn't make sense. I don't know why we would do that, unless, like you're saying, we're gonna carve it out and call it a different, like, completely rename it.
That's what they were trying to do. They cut out these sections in the map to call phase one and try implementation, and if it doesn't work, then, you know, reboot, but if it does, and you look, the board in the town likes it, expand it to the rest of the town center. They thought implementation would be easier in a smaller section.
Right.
With specific parcels that are primed for this type of.
With a specific developer that's.
I mean, the town center, existing town center district's rather large. It covers all four corners. And, you know, based on our discussions to date, it's like, well, you know, this is a big change. Maybe we just try it here in a limited area where we have an active developer you've been in discussions with. He's made presentations to you. And you just keep the change to that area. But the rest of the town center zoning's not changing. So there's going to be two ordinances that deal with two sections of the town center. And, you know, maybe instead of phase one, maybe just call it the northwest, you know,
So,
town centers. So,
I hate to play devil's advocate on it, but like, if I were in any other part of the town center district, and I saw this come through, you are creating an economic advantage for this one developer as opposed to anybody else in the same district.
So part of the reason it came through was because we were at the beginning of November and you were looking at the reality of either bringing something to a town meeting in 2026 or not. And so the decision by the group was to focus on this corner, get something on the books for 2026 and keep working on this in 2026. Is there an economic advantage? Possibly, but you're also requiring a lot of things that you don't require elsewhere.
Right.
So there's some trade-offs. So this wasn't lightly considered, I don't think, and it's up to you whether you bring it forward to town meeting. It doesn't impact us whether you bring it forward or you decide to hold off on the whole thing. But I think with Connor and Ernie and the rest of the group, it seemed like there was interest in this northwest corner.
Yeah, and I know I wasn't at the, I've had a lot going on for work lately, so I haven't been to all, I've missed 2 different meetings. But I mean, I think that would be a real concern, and I'm trying to think, like, I look at this too, is how do you get it in front of the voters to where the voters are gonna support it? And I mean, I think there's gonna be a lot of pushback on it.
I would say,
This is for the boards to make. I mean,
Yeah.
I think that the amplification and noise about walkable town center is equal to the anti-development crowd. So I think it's 50-50. And the people that show up to vote are the same people that complain about the same 2 things. So I think if you could go 10 acres in general residential and pass this down there and they vote for both. The way things have been leaning, so it's really up to the board what you think, but the idea was that put in that narrow, and it really is, you know, an incentive for this, you know, isolated, there's a couple of parcels there, and I wonder why, like, Vicky K's parcel didn't get put in there. What's the other one that's pointed out? If I,
Fill up the library, that's a private
not
residence.
number 4.
Yeah.
Because it's changed the village district.
Oh, that one's not in the, that one's not in the town center anymore?
Which one?
Vicky K's.
Yeah,
yeah, we had to remove that today.
Yeah,
and then it looks like it's the SD parcel is the other one that's in there.
That's it, no, is that not?
The SD is the largest one, the
Yeah, that's.
23911.
Yeah.
And then, so, yeah, why was, the single family house on lot 4 not included?
That was removed before we got involved and then at the.
That's a
town-
private residence that has nothing to
Right, but
do.
you're not
But-
singling out, you're section of the town, you wouldn't go, there's a house there.
Right,
You're
I'm not
saying
gonna-
development.
I think they
Yeah.
requested it.
Yeah,
from
they
what
were
I heard.
pleased to see that they were excluded when they came to Town Center Day.
But
I think it's inadvisable to have those weird boundaries.
Yeah.
But they don't have to develop their lot, they're gonna sell it, they're gonna develop it. but
Right.
Give the opportunity for that district, I would, you know.
it actually works against them to not be included in there. I would include it.
You know,
It-
I think they're gonna vote against this, those particular people, you know, if they don't want in, but.
I would also argue that the way that this is laid out creates scattered, I wouldn't say it's scattered and premature, but it is scattered development.
Spot zoning would probably be a term someone would most likely use, I think, but that's why I say create a new district around that, encompass everything a little bit more.
It's a big area to be considered spot zoning. I think that'd be a stretch, but, you know, it's obviously up to the board. But the feedback that I think we've been hearing is, let's test it, run it up a flagpole, and see what happens. And if,
The whole point of the form-based zoning, I mean, something new
right,
we're gonna
if it
try.
takes off and people are like, this is great, then,
Obviously, the PUD didn't work, so.
Right.
You've been incredibly,
I'm also concerned about having an opportunity to try on a smaller scale, just to make sure that, you know, you
Yeah.
know always gonna be implemented, as opposed to having.
and there could be things that come along, and it's like, you know what, let's tweak this and or tweak that, to address, something that happens or comes down the lane, and then you can apply it to the rest of the 3 corners.
I mean, I would argue you could end up with the largest turd ever in that section because of the fact that, like, yeah. And I look and I think about it like how many items have we brought forward where I'm like, we should change the zoning because here's the impact, and it's like, that'll never happen. And then all of a sudden it happens and everyone's like, we gotta change zoning.
I mean, there's a lot of language in this ordinance that gives the board a lot of authority and oversight. So, you know,
It does until
I
it-
can't imagine a turd coming out of that process.
The legal counsel will tell us we can't enforce it if it's not.
Right, and that's
Well,
the
I
flip
mean,
side
it's-
of that is we've had the number of battles we've had back and forth with our legal counsel about what we can and can't enforce and
But there's
what we
precedent for
should do.
this. There's precedent for this kind of form-based code in New Hampshire.
Yeah, 'cause this is gonna be another innovative land use type thing.
Correct.
They don't have to do it.
We're here to help you if you want to
Yeah.
go forward. We're not here to push in the agenda. I think a lot of the conversation so far at this public hearing shows why the previous group said, let's start with a small bite rather
Yeah.
than take a big bite or wait too long. And you do have the time. You've been really good about being transparent and being out to the public with this and engaging people in that process. You have the opportunity to explain that to them. We can help you with that if you want.
Yeah.
And how you're doing a pilot by doing just this first phase. And then engage people in the process next year to think about the other 3 quarters.
My
Yeah, I
only
think
con-
the feedback you got a few months back at that Sunday forum was pretty telling.
Yeah. it was.
Yeah, like, but we talk about engagement and like being transparent. It's transparent, but as you can see by the attendance at our meeting, it is not, people don't really see it until voting time when it ends up on the ballot and then there's a big kerfluffle around it.
All I look at, did the planning board approve this by a large vote?
Yeah.
The last 2 years.
Or
Everything passed.
does somebody like put a stick in the ground that says, hey, I'm gonna argue this one, and then you see a whole bunch of signs related to vote no on one article or.
Oh, yeah. Well, we know who did that, those 3
But-
articles, so.
But even, I guess my point that I'm making is, we say we're picking a small area, but this is still a pretty large tract of land, like, all told.
Right, and as far as the optics of it, I mean, almost all of it is hidden from sight. You have to crest the hill behind the dove to see anything. You know, if you're worried about optics, but I mean, it is what,
But not based on this zoning, the way it's written, is it's not all gonna be built all out back there.
well, I mean, there's potential to do stuff up front, for sure. But this is, at the same time, like I said, it's a double-edged sword. At the same time, people want no development. This is the thing that they repeatedly ask for. And this is an attempt at a type of zoning that allows the board to massage developments into what we've been trying to get that doesn't come naturally, organically. This is a force mechanism. It's the trade-off. We can't do this, we do this, you gotta do this for that type thing. So it's the nuanced approach as opposed to, here's the rules, you can't fit in them, I don't know what to tell you.
I mean, a major, a good sized piece of property in here has already been approved for townhouses, and the owner's already said, I'd rather not build it. I mean, it's already got approval for a project.
So you think we'll have enough time to kick the tires on this by the time we come around this time next year and now say we want to go to phase 2?
You definitely do. I mean, the amount of work you've done this year, really in the second half of the year, say, has gotten you to this point. You have the whole year ahead if you want to continue to look at it and see if you get an applicant and what you can learn from that
Well,
process.
yeah, I think if you get an applicant, then
That'll help.
that will be the test.
Right, and you know who the applicant's gonna be. And it's whether he's occupied with other things and comes forward this year or in 3 more years.
Right.
And, whether, I imagine if this comes forward, he's gonna try and lock into the zoning before it changes, good or bad.
So let me ask you then, so if he doesn't come forward next year, we haven't had a chance to test drive this, it's been in a pilot, are we going to continue on with the pilot, or do we just now expand the area, and what will be, how does this work?
I mean, I would imagine you'd stay in phase 1 until something happens and you see an outcome. But that's certainly up to the board if the makeup's different and they feel that it's better to expand. I mean, the future's unknown.
Yeah, just stay with this until see what
Yeah,
happens.
I would just wait until something happens. If nothing happens, then why expand it?
Yeah.
We haven't seen it in
Doesn't make any
action
sense to
yet.
waste time on something
You know?
if this isn't working.
Or do you end up with somebody else who owns a parcel that is in the town center that says, hey, you've approved this for them, but you're not doing it for me, and
Sit
Now
down
it's,
and
uh,
negotiate like they did with this guy. He had a lot of. input.
Yeah, and then then you say, well, we'll put it to the voters in March and see if they want to expand that zone for you.
Yeah.
I think that's reasonable, I think going over some of the details, the resident part, I missed that, I think, in the pickup, but. So you were commenting on the residential use as part of a PUD. Now, how would the residential component work with this?
It doesn't require a PUD, but it does require that there's a commercial component up front.
It
And
just
so-
takes out the
I
PUD
didn't see
link.
that.
Correct.
I didn't see that, though. The commercial, we talked about potentially, it had to have commercial, we were gonna allow it to be potentially phased.
Yep.
With some kind of hammer.
3373 in the full zoning. So what's that section in this?
Guiding principles?
Yeah, no, they're looking at another version that we're not looking at. We're looking at the full version we get from Ernie. So we have 3373. What's that in the other version you
I printed this out
have?
From their handout.
Right. This is the full, this was from the full packet you gave us, like the
Yeah.
20-something pages. They have another one.
Oh,
They're there.
The
Let me see if I
abridged
can find
version.
the one that we wrote?
This one, yeah.
Here's the wrong one. The wrong one.
It should
In
be
the case.
Yeah.
One doesn't.
On the guiding principles?
I think so.
So it's page 10.
The second page, guiding principles.
This one?
I can't even keep it straight.
All right, so it
That
is,
goes with the subdivision.
if you're
stuff.
dealing with the one that's
we're
town
not
center
doing that.
district, Roman numerals I,
You're right.
like 1, 2, and 3. It's on page 2 at the top. It may still be highlighted yellow in one of the versions that Ernie sent around. Yeah, number 5. So that's where it is, Ron.
Which one are you?
That's in the November 20th, is it the foot, on the footer?
Page look like. Oh, okay. Oh, this one here. Yep. Okay. Okay, got it.
Okay. Yeah, we get it on now.
So it's very vague.
In there,
It
Number
just
just-
says-
5.
Yep, number 5.
It's highlighted.
The planning board can negotiate that piece.
Yeah,
So
so
it gives a lot of leeway.
we had some back and forth. Mark can share his thoughts on this. We had some back and forth and Mark put some language together. I think the language that's there, you feel gives them the flexibility that Jamie's talking about. Connor looked at it and said, basically, this gives the flexibility for the planning board to enter into a development agreement. We checked with Dover because Rob Baldwin had mentioned at one of these meetings, one of our work sessions, that they were in a situation where they were required to do commercial up front and they had to pay a higher tax rate until they actually built that commercial. So I checked with Chris Parker in Dover, and he said that situation got messed up because of COVID. But that typically what the development agreement says is you don't have to build the commercial right away, but you got to build it before you get occupancy of your residential. And you're going to pay a higher tax rate until that point. Yeah.
And one of the things he mentioned was, but
We don't have that deviation in ours.
this is giving it you that, under that highlighted
Right, but
section.
how do how do you dictate what the tax rate becomes or what that is? That's a
Wha-
whole different.
You
One
just do
meth-
like a penalty on top of the regular
Well, one
tax rate.
method is you look at the proposed commercial thing and say, this is what we're gonna put for commercial, and the assessor assigns a tax rate for it, and they pay the taxes on the unbuilt commercial thing. So just like if TurboCam came in with that building and they, $12.4 million building, and it's gonna be $240,000 a year, I'm just making up numbers.
Yeah, I know.
And they never built it, but they still have to pay $240,000 a year for the next 5 years. And then if they don't build it in the 5 years.
The intent of this, though, Jamie, is to allow them to build the suit, so the design is not done yet. There's nothing to look at to tax.
Not necessarily. That's one aspect that could be. So if it's a 50,000 square foot building and the build to suit portion is what you're concerned with, then yeah, that would be one reason. But the other reason is that statistically they say the housing needs to come first before the business will come. So it gives you an opportunity to establish housing, then businesses want to get closer to the housing, and it gets to that point they've been paying the taxes, so it's no loss to us. And then all of a sudden, okay, we're gonna build this building with those storefronts because that's what people are asking for, and it fits into the development better, as opposed to building 38 garage bays as a contractor storage because it's the cheapest and easiest, and then they just sit there as garage bays for the next 15 years filled with contractors' crap around all these nice houses.
Yeah, but to me, this says, I don't see the hammer, you know what I mean? I
The
don't-
hammer, they're paying taxes on buildings they haven't built. So
If
who
they-
cares if they never build them and we still get the tax revenue?
When Rob was talking, he
Who's paying
said,
the tax?
he
They
said
are.
that,
Who's
you know,
the,
after
The
fi-
property owner.
The applicant.
5 years,
right, but
Then
when
he
the
had to stop
developer
paying
goes
taxes.
That's
bankrupt
one version.
because
We
they
can modify it and
put it in
strengthen it and
LLC, it's
position it
bought
any
in
way we
LLC,
want.
and then they go
If they come
belly
forward
up.
and say, you've got to do 50,000 square feet of
That's a
commercial
real
space,
issue. We've dealt with that.
Well, I think this is the other reason why Dover you don't get your occupancy permit for your residential.
Yeah, I
Until you
think that
build
would,
the place. So
that
it
would
gives
have
you
to
a
be,
year or two to figure it out.
that would have to be an absolute, like, nail in the,
I don't know if I like that one though, Andy. That's a little, I think that what Rob was looking for is put the residential in place. A developer a commercial guy can come in and see the opportunity there. So
Right.
there's already people and cars driving around.
But I'm saying I don't agree with that. The only way I would agree to that is if they don't get a single occupancy permit until the commercial component is built.
And I think
There
in Dover's
would be
case,
no residential
Was he
occupancy
willing
permits
to
issued.
provide a copy?
he said, but then he didn't send it to me. That's why I emailed the planning director with you today, Donna, to get a copy. So they have a sample agreement that they said they'd share. And also, I think what Chris was saying was that you have to build the shell. You don't have to fit up the inside.
Well,
So
that
if
was
you
the next
know-
point I was gonna make. You can build it and leave it vacant like they did Point Place for 5 years. There was nobody in there. They couldn't get out. So you have empty buildings. If that's the structure you need to build per zoning, to build a 3-story structure and commercial on the first floor, then there's no other way. You're not gonna hover it up there. But they can be vacant storefronts. It doesn't say they have to be rented to get an occupancy permit. So they'd be vacant for who knows how long. But I can tell you what's gonna happen, because I can put my crystal ball together, is you're gonna get 57 garage bays. It's the cheapest, easiest thing, contractor storage, whatever it is, and then you're just gonna throw the doors up. Unless you take it out of zoning or adopt some other mechanism to encourage better uses.
I mean, the reason we made the language rather vague, it has pluses and minuses, but every situation's different, right? I mean, every applicant's different, and we wrote to ensure a strong commitment on the part of an applicant to bring commercial space to market. The proponent shall negotiate a development agreement with the town detailing the timing of said commercial development. If you mandate no COs, if there's no tenant, if they can't find a tenant, it's not that they don't want commercial. They'd love to be able to rent their place for $200 a square foot. But if there's nobody out there, it's not that they don't want to, it's the market. The market drives it. If they can find a daycare provider who can find employees, they'd put in a 10,000 square foot daycare provider, and it would be filled like that with people that want it. It's the market that's gonna drive it. So that's why instead of putting a specific square footage or a specific, prior to CO, we figured when the applicant's in front of you, you figure it out
Right.
and come up with a plan that
The
makes
way I look
sense.
at it, we have all these, you're not gonna put a huge building there. We won't accept that.
Right.
We want something that's gonna fit in.
It's gonna work,
quality of life.
and you can gauge if they're sincere or they're just BSing you.
So to Jamie's point, if you call it a unique zone, you could actually define what commercial
Uses.
Right.
uses that you would allow, maybe to avoid the.
Right.
I actually think that is a better approach to it. And then also, one of my big concerns on that is where you talk about the development, and as I just kind of mentioned as everyone else was chatting, is that these developers come in and they start the development. The development is built under an LLC. And we've dealt with this where they build part of it out or they do as much as they want to, and then miraculously the LLC goes belly up and there's nobody to go recover anything from. And if you think of a certain road over by the golf course, we have dealt specifically with this.
Yeah, but well, to me, that's separate, different.
But the development, gone. The developer
Developer, sure.
disappears.
Yeah, and with this, the underlying landowner is gonna be responsible for it. I mean, you can't, if you build a commercial space or you're paying taxes on it, you sell that land, that burden's gonna go with that property. You know, and to Mark's point, this section gives you flexibility. So one project, it doesn't seem like it's a good fit and you want it built, and the next one you say, it doesn't make sense to build it yet. You know, you have that flexibility. And for this guy, yeah, pay taxes for the next 10 years. And this guy, no, it's not going to work. You know, we want something different. But that's where I think, you know, individual as opposed to a collective mind is going to make this either fail or be successful. You know, I can see it, one board member, I don't like hair salons and they're proposing a hair salon, so I'm not going to vote for it. And the next one, you know, there's so much individual. This is, you know, a collective idea trying to move things forward in the best way for the town as opposed to, you know, picking apart individual lines, you know, but they're trying to create the flexibility you wanted on the conservation subdivision in the town center, you know, and giving you all kinds of authority to do anything you want.
Right, and giving it as clear as possible for the applicant to know what you're asking for, so they get a better shot at bringing you an application you'll be excited about. As far as uses, in the town center district sheet that we provided, the uses for commercial, the ones we listed here were retail, service, office, and daycare. Those seem to be in line with everything you were talking about, as opposed to like, you know, storage or other stuff.
Yeah, right. You want a vibrant activity taking place,
Exactly.
not storing trucks or cars or stuff. That's
Right.
just not gonna work.
The last thing we found as far as conversation piece was in the conditional use permit, you all had a comment on the civic space. And Mark and I looked at it today and talked a little bit. And it's suggested in there, do you have it right there? Yeah. So it says shall be considered. So there may be locations where the civic space just doesn't make sense, but they're providing some other kind of open space. So a gathering space may not make sense next to the daycare, for instance, but maybe it makes sense elsewhere in the village. So you have it in there. It keeps the option open for discussion.
Right.
So,
Yeah, it provides flexibility. It doesn't say shall be provided, it shall be considered. And I think it's, you know, project by project. It makes sense in some places, maybe not in another place.
In the language to enhance public spaces gives the opportunity to say, yeah, we don't need you to dedicate open space, but go enhance this parcel over here with that playground structure or the trail or something to that effect. This is a quid pro quo. I know it's hard to wrap your head around, but it really.
Well, I'm sitting here thinking about the applicants that we've had before us that they're like, no, we're not going to do that. It doesn't say we have to.
But that's
And we've
straight
got
up
their
zoning.
attorneys sitting here going through this.
But that's the difference between straight
bringing
up
along
zoning,
with us.
right? Straight up adopted zoning versus the innovative land use and trying to do these other
I mean, it's
types
the
of
conditional
things.
use permit process. It's a whole different
Whole different thing.
ball of wax.
Yeah, we just haven't had a whole lot of success with our conditional use and
Yeah, I get it.
that they come before us and then we get steamrolled with crap, so
The
to
question
speak.
is it worth trying?
I think anything's worth trying. I mean, I'm
Well,
not.
you know,
averse to
you
trying.
guys have been talking about this town center for a number of
Wow.
years. Yeah, quite some time.
Couple decades.
Yeah, a couple decades. So I think this is a way to float it out there. It's not the full Monty. It's not the full quarters. It's one section. And to Andrew's point, if everyone that comes in is just, you know, trying to steamroll, then it's like, you know what?
Get out of here.
Yeah, but we're not gonna extend it to the rest of
No,
the
we're
four
not
quarters, and
required
maybe
to do
we'll appeal it,
anything
you know,
with them.
so. It's-
Has it been reviewed by our lawyer?
it's been sent, right, Ernie? To the attorney?
Yes, it has been sent, but I also need to get through tonight so that you're closer to a finished document to have her take a look at it. I can imagine she would have a lot to say. She's gonna have it done by Friday, but I did send it, so that's why I want to get any changes you make tonight.
I would like to suggest what Jamie did is that we rename that district as opposed to calling it Phase 1.
Right. Well, I suggested Northwest, but you guys know the town better than me.
Town Center Prime.
Prime.
Pilot.
Whatever works. But I agree,
Northwest
phase one,
Passage.
kinda.
Northwest Passage.
I'm a landmark kind of guy, the Dove District.
Yeah.
And then the Caleb District, and, you know.
Yeah.
The stuff, that makes sense.
Yeah.
I do-
That's well known, right?
All right, everybody agree with the Dove District?
Sure.
Second it.
Roll call. Perfect, looks good.
Might make your lives easier, it makes communicating to the voters easier. The
Yeah,
other,
this whole phase 1, phase 2, I think.
it's fair, if it's creating confusion here and you guys know what's going on.
Right.
You're good with math, so you know.
Andy
doesn't know what's going on, he's missed me.
Well, the call I'll get if it passes is the call I'll get. I'm in the town center. I'll tell them all the litany of things and they'll be like, oh, someone said it was different. Oh, you're in phase 1? Yeah.
Yeah.
If you continue to bring this forward through the town, the public hearing process to town meeting and you adopt it, I don't think it would be bad, and we'd be happy to stay involved if you periodically, maybe quarterly, if the planning board wants to have a work session, like, what are we hearing? We've been thinking about this, like, we want to look at tweaking this, or give us other examples of things.
Yeah.
Like, keep it out in the public mind
Yeah.
and invite a couple property owners in to understand it and think about it for the other quarters. And then you might want to expand it or make some changes and expand it for 2027.
I know we talked about it, and I don't know how well accepted it's gonna be lot dimensions as approved by NHDES. We're not gonna have any minimum at all, it's gonna be totally septic loading based.
Yep.
Which means you're gonna have housing lots that are, what, 10,000 square feet or?
No,
Probably multifamily of some sort,
Yeah.
for
probably.
the single family or duplex, they have to be at least 30,000 square feet with the DES regulations, but.
Didn't think it was that large.
But they're, yeah, but they're
You
not.
have, you have community water though, John, so the best soils in the state with on-site septic and well, it is about 28 to 30. That's about as small as you can go, but
And
some of
that's
these
with
properties
flat
have.
land with good drainage.
Well, right, with the best soils we have.
Right.
But this has community water, or at least a portion of it has community water. I don't know if every parcel has community
People
water.
could do community water.
It extended, yeah.
So, I mean, that's gonna help, because the setback to the well radius isn't gonna be there, because the well's on the north side.
You've got a whole development being built and they're all 20,000
But it's
square
gonna,
foot lots.
there's gonna be a
so-
carrying capacity, to the soil.
Yeah.
When we're talking about a reserve for the commercial space and
Right.
talking about a restaurant as the intensity for that that space. Did I miss that too?
That's in there.
Okay.
Yeah, just to make sure that they leave the septic capacity for like a bigger user.
Yeah,
They might start as a hair
and
salon,
high
but
intensity use.
yeah,
We-
right.
Adequate water and sewer capacity shall be reserved for these uses, including potential food service.
Yeah.
Okay.
And again, I didn't put a specific percentage because I think providing flexibility to the board as far as that size, but it's something that's gonna have to be discussed with you. You know, it can't be 99% capacity that's allocated to residential. That was the
Right.
board's concern, that you build all the residential, oh, we want a restaurant, oh, sorry, can't fit a restaurant here. That's what you didn't want.
More questions, or do you want to?
I think it's a good idea to run down the whole list of dimensional standards, just to avoid any setbacks in the future, to make sure, density and lot size, minimum, right? Frontage, this would be no frontage lots. They'd be, I don't know how that works. I don't know how you get lot sizes and no frontage or any dimensions, so they're just land without lots, basically, right?
I don't think they're really like lots at that point. It's more of a PUD.
It's gonna be a lot of, there's gonna be condominiums, which is, limited common area. There'll be land leases on the commercial space.
And using examples that we saw on that little drive around was, because the way this will be designed is this section over here will be 6 duplexes with a path, like we saw in, the north end of Dover. And they've got, they did like a little cobblestone that an ambulance could fit down. So it looks like a walkway, but it's access for that kind of stuff. And then this section over here, you might have 3 single families, but they're probably gonna be land without lots too, whether they sell them or rent them, or they'll carve out that portion to sell, but it's gonna be the mix. And that's where it's gonna be confusing and difficult, but I think it's the way you get that mix of housing stock, pros and cons on that, and then, the commercial aspect. The setbacks, that front one was just from the main road.
Yeah, it was basically from the right of way and giving them, you don't want it seems like being closer than 30 feet to the right of way is different than the pattern you have here, where a lot of your buildings are in that 30 to 50 feet from the main roads. And so that's why we gave them the flexibility, but to have them set it really far back, you kind of lose that pedestrian piece that you're talking about for the village. So to give them a range.
Much smaller side and rear setbacks. But what are those from? If there's no lot lines?
It would be for the principal lot.
It's gonna be the principal lot line.
Okay.
I mean, if they're.
Because it's a
families-
multi-parcel development.
Right.
That's where, if it's on one parcel, you wouldn't have a building straddling these unless they merged them.
Correct.
Where he's doing a multi-parcel development. So that's where those setbacks would come in.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
Building height, there was an increase in building height. Make sure everybody picked up on that. I know John had brought that up before, but apparently
So-
nobody gets on a roof anymore.
But with the building height, Max, one of the questions I had on that is the existing height line around it was targeted toward the fire department and the need for larger apparatus.
Yeah, we're depending on Dover and Durham for a tower truck, 100-foot tower truck. So
And I
they
would
have to respond, like even this building back here, if you pitch you can just barely reach it with 100-foot if you're angling up to the roof to get a roof team up there to cut.
And
So that would, they'll have.
nine,
I want to
10,
talk about that one.
Right,
because
and
that
9
wasn't supposed to actually be built that way. but-
9/10, 90% of the time, it's gonna be a sprinkled building.
Yeah.
And,
Sprinkle it.
I mean, if it's a concern, I would say raise it with the fire chief. And second, I would say that my understanding, and by no way an expert in firefighting, but nobody gets on a roof anymore.
Right.
They let it
They
burn.
do in Boston and Cambridge, which
Well,
are class 1 fire
because-
departments.
Yeah,
I know. Yeah,
but
these
not in
guys-
Barrington,
not
Lee,
them get
Dover,
volunteers up
even
there.
Dover, they don't go in and chop holes, they say. And I don't know if that's accurate, I'm just getting hearsay that they'll shoot water over it, but they're not getting up there climbing on a 6-story building, cutting holes and stuff anymore. It's just not the way they fight fires. And that just comes from when Mike was helping out in the code office, so. If we want input on that, if we think that's an issue that, the fire chief certainly would be the person to talk to.
Let me ask a question. Do we want a 45-foot tall building?
Yes,
We do.
only increasing it 5 feet, and the purpose was for that commercial space to have the extra 3 feet.
That they need
in the
for,
First
ceiling,
floor.
For a drop ceiling.
Work and,
so I'm assuming they're doing like a 10-foot, 10 to 12-foot down, bottom floor, and then we're talking, you've
10
got,
foot, 10 foot clear,
yeah,
plus you need a plenum for that.
right, which means you would need, with 3 stories, you need at least 35 feet.
Plus roof line.
If you do a roof line, or do you do a flat
And a
roof?
lot of residential properties these days are podium,
Everybody said.
Oh, really?
drive under. So the first floor is nothing
Turbo cam.
but a parking lot. So there's 8 or 10 feet right there.
That's actually a parapet. The roof is 4 feet below that. And it was done that way so they didn't need to put fall protection on it, so you don't look at like a guardrail system. It was actually, and if you look at the sloped roof that's on the side part of it, same thing. That's a false roof line. It's actually not a sloped roof. It's a flat roof with a parapet that's pitched to make it look like a sloped roof with a outcropping to make the roof line look like it comes out like that.
Hey,
Just trying to be smart about it when I did it. So.
Parking though. How does parking, this section
Not my issue.
on parking, how does that match up with our strong regulations on parking?
These
Too
would
bad I
rule,
enjoyed it.
these would rule the day.
some
If you're in the Dove Town Center, what are we calling it? These would trump anything else.
Well, site planning has
Yep.
you know, a lot of parking requirements.
Section 5.
And these would fall into site plan because they're multifamily or commercial, so.
Yeah, do you have the parking stuff right there? I'm trying to figure out which one I'm on.
I mean, it references section 5, right?
Yep, design requirements, site.
I mean, our parking regulations under site planning
Parking
are
3.
way more detailed than this.
Yeah, but you can use those to whatever degree you need to, Ron. It's just here, they're talking about where feasible shared parking should be considered.
Yep.
There's information in here about parking being primarily to the side and the rear,
Side
but
and-
allowing on-street parking. So you're just giving a little bit more guidance that's village-related.
Okay.
And again, this is a change and it's gonna be new. It's,
Right.
you know, like with the conservation subdivision, to keep referencing the old one, this is what it used to be. This is gonna be new, you know, and somebody puts in you know, they come in with 16 apartment buildings and you say that's not nearly enough parking. Or, you know, or they come in with an office building and say 4 is enough for that. You know, or the dump parking lot's right there, they're gonna use that, you know, for overflow, so maybe they don't need as much over here. That's the flexibility you're trying to look at.
But the flexibility that I thought we were doing was, we weren't gonna have them build a commercial space, you know, the shell. I thought we were gonna give them the flexibility to do whatever they wanted down the road. A client comes in and says, I want this size, this architectural features, whatever, you know, was built to suit. So I think we've taken a little different approach here than.
No, this provides you that flexibility, Ron.
That was one example of how you could, not this is the new rule. That was just one example of how you could spur the type of development you want by being flexible, by allowing these allowances or, you know, phased development, however you want to call it. You know, it's just one example,
I
you
mean,
know.
you could make an agreement where you want the slab poured. You could make an agreement where you want the shell put in. You can make an agreement where there's this area set aside that they agree to come back in 2 years with a definitive plan. I mean, the language in there is really open to, on a case-by-case basis, to negotiate something that makes sense.
I think the fear was keeping it so open-ended that you'd get pushback from residents who want to see commercial if there's going to be residential, which we keep hearing.
Yeah, but I think,
has to be
you know, I'm
some-
sensitive that, we also had concerns around Andy's argument that, you know, what if the guy goes away? He does the residential, makes a fortune.
Right.
Then you're taxing him like he's got a building there and he just walks away.
Well, who pays the taxes? Then you repo it and it gets
Sometimes-
sold at auction and they pay the taxes and the back taxes. I mean, it's just like any other parcel.
So
I mean, he's not walking away from a multi-million-dollar development.
Depends how-
Presumably, most of
depends
it's.
how many millions
he
he's
made
gotten out
his
of
money
it.
on the residential. This guy would walk away from the commercial in a heartbeat.
Yeah, but how's he gonna, he can't cut it in half and just take the houses with him and keep renting those and not
If
pay
he
the
didn't have to
taxes.
build in the first place, he would be very, very happy. So if you take that example where the residential makes all the money,
Yep.
Right.
there's no marshal for the commercial. I made my money, I try to shop the commercial, doesn't happen, I'm out of here.
Right.
He's
But,
depending on those 8 units at $3,500 a month. I mean, that's.
but let's use the
He's not gonna walk
example.
away from that.
This is a great example. Let's say,
Condos.
Let's say they built it.
let's say this,
Built it.
You don't build it and you're just paying the taxes on it, and then you build all of that in the back, then you're like, yeah, okay, peace out. Like, good luck.
But
You
then-
keep going
right,
on
but
set.
then you-
Taxes
but
are
just like
penalty.
any other-
If I go out of business, I ain't paying the taxes anymore.
but Ron, just, if you stop paying the taxes on your home, what happens? Whether you stay there or not, they build up, we make action, we collect, we auction off your property, the new guys, sometimes you get a
No,
clean
it's-
slate, sometimes you gotta pay it, but, I mean, he's,
Death and taxes.
so, in this example, if he built all 58 houses but never built that, was paying taxes on that building, and he walked away,
Yeah.
and then the tax bill came due, for 3 years he owes,
I hear that, Jane, but the reason he walked away is he couldn't do the commercial space.
but that,
So now,
that's not your
now,
concern.
let me finish. We've now said we're gonna drive commercial space with this new model. And the old guy walks away, the new guy, the town tries to sell it, nobody wants to buy it because there's no market for commercial space. So now we have residential, no commercial,
So the
And we're
town
saying,
owns a prime
what the
piece
hell
of.
were you guys thinking?
No, so the town owns a piece of property in a prime commercial zone. We don't pay taxes on our own property, and we sit there until somebody wants to buy it, just like the Caleb thing, and then you sell it to a developer who's ready. Or the guy comes in and says, oh my God, I'm getting taxed on a full building. I better build this out quick,
Let's say the commercial, there's no commercial market. The first guy was right, there's no commercial market.
which is,
So we take it over after like 3 years.
Those are for 460 square foot little commercial lots. I mean, of course, there's nothing, there may be a hairdresser
Well, but
or
let's
a
say-
fortune teller or something.
Let's say it's a big lot, there's no commercial for that either. So it sits there for 4 years, we take it over. Guess what? We find we can't market it either because there's no commercial. So now the town's gonna look at us and say.
so we've got a free $1 million. So St. Hilaire sold it for 560. Say it's worth 500. Even numbers. So we take back that property at 500,000. We've lost the tax revenue that he didn't pay. So yes, that's too bad. But we take over that piece of property for a $500,000 piece of property that we now own, the town owns. Nobody wants to buy it for its value because of the tax burden on it, and it just sits there in the town's coffers until a developer comes forward. I mean, there is.
Jamie, would be the requirement to be commercial. It's gotta be commercial space.
I know, but what? I don't see there's potential loss of revenue for the town that impacts our taxes, but the hypothetical that you're proposing has very little downside for the town, other than the action for the lawyers to take it and auction it off, and it's the typical stuff you do with any property.
But I would like
The
to
guy
point
before
out.
had owned the land and couldn't make the commercial work.
That's a
Let me
hypothetical.
finish.
Couldn't
make the commercial
couldn't
work.
wouldn't
What
didn't
makes you think the new guy?
because he's buying it to do that.
First guy bought it too.
No, the first guy, in your scenario, the first guy had to do it and couldn't. Said he couldn't do it, but had to.
Yeah.
This guy's buying it because he wants to. He knows the parameters.
Don't say no one buys it because the first guy was right. There's no commercial market, so it never gets sold.
Well, I mean, you're taking a leap of faith here. Obviously, RKG did a pretty definitive study for you guys. We're not talking about 300,000 square feet of space growth here. We're talking about small areas of commercial. Again, it's only a small area of the community. You roll it out, see how it works.
Just trying to test this.
Just trying to test it. If there's
Leap of faith.
it is a leap of faith.
Next year.
If no,
I can't tell you
if all the
anything
residential gets
tell
built
you
and there's no commercial,
right now.
then you'll know, and maybe you have to rethink it. I mean, nothing in this regulation is written in granite where it can't be changed. And if you want to abandon it, you have that option too.
What's the sense of the board?
The question
Just
is
let
it
this
better
go
than what
for-
we have
let it
today?
Try it and
Yeah.
see what happens, right? I mean, these guys were pretty well covered everything that we had.
But I mean, historically, I've seen, the board and Ron, you in particular, you'll sit there and come up with every negative possibility and not one positive one. Of course, there's no positive outcome from every negative possibility. I can list off 15 negatives too, that nothing positive is going to come out of every one of those negatives. But they're all extreme hypotheticals that, yes, may and could come true, as opposed to what are the positive outcomes that may come true if we get on board and if we try to administer this in a positive fashion and steer it towards the outcome we want, as opposed to going, never going to happen, never going to happen, never going to happen.
Leaving it the way it is not.
Never gonna happen.
brought any-
You're going to get, yeah, you're going to get 23
No, it sat there for over 3 years.
Well, I think there's nuance to that as well. He's got 17 other projects. This was the lowest, he was making the lowest amount of money, return on investment, to do this project. So we had no rush to get started on it because the density's lower than what he's getting everywhere else and the cost of construction is the same. So
Well,
why would
plus-
he come over here when he can go to
Plus,
Dover or
he
anywhere
had to
else?
give up that amount of land for public use.
Well, that
which
was another
He had
issue
to go to
that
the ZBA.
all the
and
other
whole
ones
thing.
were.
Right.
James, I'm suggesting this is Nick. I think it's history. Our mixed use projects have yielded zero commercial space. So I'm being negative, but it's being backed up. But my whole time,
I mean, this is the only one I can think of.
Thibodeau's across.
That's not built yet.
They already said there's no commercial market for it.
Every realtor in the world is going to tell you that if you're going to give them more residential. He said it here because it was a sales pitch. I mean, if everybody came in and said, I only need an acre to live on, why is it 3? Would you go, nobody wants 3 acres? let's do an acre. Nobody wants 3 acres, let's do an acre. No, it's your zoning. That was a sales pitch. Because they wanted more residential, and they don't want to do the commercial because it's, you know, it's not the moneymaker right now.
There's no market for it.
That's,
So Ron,
Baldwin
what
said he
are
said
you
there was.
advocating? I understand you're expressing a real risk about
Want
the
to just
risk,
make it residential?
but what's the
I'm
alternative?
concerned about the walkaway scenario that I just talked about. And like Andy's saying, you know,
Mhm.
I'm concerned that residential gets built at higher density than we've ever allowed before because it's gonna drive commercial, and the commercial never happens.
So Ron,
And
do
you
what
look like
Dover
idiots.
does. Don't give them an occupancy permit till they build out the
It's a
commercial.
little too harsh. I want to encourage.
That's exactly what you want to
No,
do.
listen,
Just all residential?
I want to encourage the commercial,
Ron,
but it doesn't happen, I want a hammer.
Ron, what?
So I want to be as flexible as
Trying to
possible.
find a sweet
for
spot,
commercial.
right?
So then compromise on it, say, and the compromise can be not quite as harsh as you don't get an occupancy permit until the commercial's built, but maybe you say you only get an occupancy permit for 50% of it.
Right.
So you can, or 25%, pick your threshold, 25, 50, 75, and then you can make your commercial development contingent upon that, so it hits milestones. So you can build your first 25% residential
What do you think, Bob?
to recoup your cost.
Like that?
And then you can go 50, 75, 100. So
That gives
now
them an
you've,
opportunity to
right.
get some residents in there
right.
Right,
to support the commercial,
right.
the
Get
coffee
the
shop.
cash
the-
flowing, right. Exactly.
I'll come around. I just got to work through that and how to.
this gives you all those options.
Language is in there that
You got waivers in there, right?
Right, you
There's
have
serious waivers.
the entire ordinance is waivable by the board.
Right.
So that's at the very end.
You can't do commercial, all right, we'll let you put residential here, just to
Right.
start
And-
the process
and
going.
That paragraph in there provides the scenario that you just mentioned. That in this particular case, at 50%, we want to see that coffee shop or fill in the blank.
Yeah, like I think it has to be there does have to be a hard line on it. And you've got to have some sort of stick
You
to
end
go
up
with
with
the
empty
carrot.
space because the space isn't big enough really. He misquoted what he needed to put a restaurant in there or something. You know, there's some excuse they'll have and you'll say, well.
There's always an excuse.
No,
And I think that's why Andy's is a great one, you know, say that density is 50 units. Yeah, you build 20 units, you gotta build one commercial thing. You get
That's what,
20 more units, you gotta build another commercial space.
We
So
just
it's phased.
had dinner in Northwood. At the brewery. Hardly a bustling, metropolis, and there were probably 30 people in that restaurant.
Oh, at least, yeah.
Yeah, that place it has a line of cars.
But it's in the middle of nowhere.
Right.
So, if it's the right, you can find a right user, a right operator, even the most rural town can
The
have.
residents are dying for stuff like that.
But is
Yeah.
this something we need to check with the lawyer that she would back us up on?
the only big building you're gonna get is for elderly
But we
housing.
need to
right?
make sure she would agree with.
It's not gonna be
that.
150 units going in.
I mean, I
whether
think
she agrees or not,
you're
that's why I
getting,
said
if-
we just.
Single family, cottage court, duplex, triplex,
Yeah.
quadplex and
What
townhomes.
she said, the language is.
That's
fine.
it for residential, pretty much.
if you
And then a
move
large building for over 55, up to 20
forward with
units.
this, you have something you have a story to tell to developers. You have something that's unique to Barrington, that you can pitch. And you can see what kind of interest you can drum up. You have something to have a conversation around. I mean, the reception before all this was
On
positive,
the,
so. And then like John said, you can change it next year if you don't like it.
Yeah, exactly.
It just sounds like it's a pretty unique idea. You know, I really like that approach.
Yep.
Do you want them to put that language into it?
Sure.
You mean the phasing?
Does it-
I
Or is that just negotiated?
I would not put that in there. But it's I put my lawyer hat on. I believe you have the authority to negotiate that based on language that we wrote, because it's negotiated in front of you on a case-by-case basis.
And I would say for the board and the applicants, if the board wanted to put, for example, the pilot program, taxes in lieu,
Right.
or a phased build, a 20, 30.
I'll be honest, I don't love the taxes.
I
in
love the
lieu.
tax. There's no infrastructure. There's nothing to take care of. It's just money.
And the reason I don't love taxes in lieu is because eventually it all goes away. Like, it doesn't carry.
Harvard
Well, it's
pays
all
a
gone
ton of
anyways, 'cause
money
it's in the
to
TIF
Cambridge,
district.
Massachusetts, every year since 1642 or something.
That's a whole different, like, that
I
is.
know, the hospitals do it, any.
Ernie, we can, I'll wordsmith something.
We can add a phasing piece in there.
It's a pilot.
Send you something in the morning.
Does everybody
Is there
see
a
the garden
nonprofit
part?
Organization.
What's that? Well, you had mentioned the garden part, and I wanted to make sure everybody heard that. The garden style, that would be over 4 units, I think? Or is that still 4 units? For
Maximum 4 units per building.
28 units per building for.
Well, that's over
50.
55.
Right, I just wanted to make sure everybody heard that little nuance.
Which one are you talking about?
The types of housing stock
here.
that could go in there.
Right there on the bottom, type, what can you put in there?
No, I
Single-
think it's great. I just want to make sure everybody,
No.
it's just, 4 units per building, regardless of style, except for 55 and older, you can go up to 28 units per building to make it, cost effective or whatnot.
Yeah, and we're not locked into that for anything, you know? We
Right,
don't,
again, you-
tomorrow we may not like
You
that.
could waive
idea.
it, but the concern was massing, and we thought starting at 4 would be good for the context for that area, nothing, instead of having 15 of them in a row or something like that. So, again, if you've got something that's like, oh, we like 6s,
Yeah.
you could allow it.
But this is the thing that, this is the thing that they're gonna show you the building with 28 units in it. And this is what we want to build, and then you say,
Story.
we don't
Good
like it
story,
like that.
says, right?
Break it into 2 9s, or, yeah, you can do 28, but do this, do that, and we'll give you the 28. That's the intent of this thing. They're gonna show it to you up front,
They're gonna
And then
show
you're
you
gonna
the
say-
cheapest way to do it, and we're gonna say, no, we want you
Well,
to scatter it a little.
like Baldwin said, and others have said, and I don't know if it's true or not, because I don't go to other meetings, but with this stuff, they're trying to come with their best foot forward to then trade something, but I don't, in practice, I don't
I don't
agree.
know if
think
I
it'll
agree
happen.
with that.
I don't either, but
They're coming forward with, I'm gonna try and get the max out of it that I can, and if I've gotta give something up, I'm gonna make sure I've loaded it up to such a degree that I can horse trade crap off with that.
And
I don't like 28 units per building. I never have and never will.
They picked that because that's the one economically feasible.
This is
right?
just for 55 and over.
Even still, the problem with
Well, we
55
won't
and
do it,
over.
and we won't do it. Then
But I
we don't
think-
have to give it to them.
no, but I think it's
It's
good to
nothing.
leave something in there for that housing stock if they can, but if you think it's right for the town.
And that's a 2-story building, plus the parking underneath,
The
right?
28 was for the cost effective.
Why would it be a 2-story, to be clear? Why would it be 2-story?
That's what we said in here. That's all they wanted to do.
Oh,
You
2
could do
stories of
parking.
living space.
Right, and then one space below for parking.
No,
That's
it
what
could
we
be
thought-
45 feet tall, but there's only 2 stories of living space.
Correct.
The way I translate that. It's a 45-foot building, but there's only 2 stories of living space in that building.
You can have commercial below or parking below. or
Right.
Nothing below.
Yeah. So
Or we can say, yeah, we don't,
sure, but yeah, just, I just don't want any surprise. I'm trying to ring it all out now.
This is where I'll go back to playing devil's advocate like Ron is. If it's in the regulation like this, that's what they're gonna try and do. They're gonna try and maximize that.
And I
but we
appreciate
they
that.
just say no.
Right, and this is,
We don't say no, that's the problem.
Well,
You
it
know,
sounds like a
It's
couple of us would say.
28, garden-style buildings,
Well, a garden style unit is a ground unit
No.
or a below ground.
no, a garden style is a unit that's accessed by a common hallway.
interior hallway.
Right.
A common interior hallway. You go in one door and then you go up the stairs and you got,
Right.
it's like an interior motel.
That's
type setup.
when us planners talk about garden buildings, that's what we mean, versus a townhouse,
Right.
versus a duplex.
Individual entrances,
Right.
exterior entrances. You got
It's,
the
it's a,
one
it's a
interior.
common hallway. They can be condominiums, they can be, families can live in there, but here it would only be, it'd be age restricted. And again, based on some feedback from surveys, it seems to be people want to age in place, they want to stay in town, sell their home and be able to stay here, and that's one way to do it.
And there was less interest in large apartment buildings. So we tried
Right,
to
you
go
didn't wanna,
more
you know-
missing middle size stuff.
I mean, these can be 54, 60 unit buildings, but that isn't,
That ain't gonna happen.
that's not going to happen here. It's not appropriate. So,
Speaking as a senior, just because you're over 55, doesn't mean you need an elevator.
Oh, yeah.
I think there's
No, we tell them we only want to build it on one floor, I don't know.
As long as you get that knee fixed.
That what?
It's as long as you get your knee fixed.
Yeah, well, I can still hobble up the stairs though.
There you
so.
go.
So Andy, to your point of us never saying no. I think what you're focusing on is conservation subdivisions. And we don't say no to most of those because everybody's afraid of conventional and seeing a conventional come in. This has given us the flexibility to do a lot more.
we have much more
but
power
we
into
have
this.
no reason to say, yes, absolutely. We can say, we don't like the design of your building,
Go, yeah.
and that's it.
Go away and come back with something we like. Exactly.
I also think we should be very prescriptive in our regulation on what garden style is, because if you look it up, it meets what you guys talk about, but it also looks at garden level unit. The term is sometimes used interchangeably, but is specifically referenced to ground floor units that are partially below ground level. So making sure there's a definition in there that provides clarity on that, because when I look it up, I mean, because technically, if you follow it by the definition, it's just classified as any low-rise apartment building lower than 4 stories.
Yeah, and that's really what it is. It's you know, it's a
Doesn't have to be
center
an apartment
entrance,
building.
right?
It can be a
Can be
condo.
condos, can be flats.
Right.
But we can
But it
define
says
it.
2 to 4, it rates it as 2 to 4 stories and then goes on to say other types of garden units, and it specifically
We can
talks
define
about.
it. It's very
the way I've
simple.
All the ones that were built in Newmarket and Dover over the, years and years ago, they all have the basement unit, that smells like mold, and then they got the 3 stories on top. It's everywhere. They're all.
You get a discount from the mold.
Question about the uses.
Yeah.
Would that be flexible with the board's discretion? When they build the commercial space and they come in and say, I want to open this up, no, that's not one of the 4 uses. Should that be expanded to a full table of uses that the board agrees on, or is that?
So this is more detailed than what Dover and a lot of other form-based codes use. So in a lot of places, they just say commercial.
Yeah,
And so-
but they have a different form of government where they can make the decision at the desk as opposed to coming back to the planning board. I send someone back to the planning board for, a 500 square foot space to, sell knickknacks. It's just cost prohibitive, to draw business to town as opposed to this building has been approved for these uses. They come to me and I say, yeah, that use has been approved, go ahead. And
So
then
what
they
we
pull their
took-
building permits.
Maybe this will answer, Jimmy. What we took out of this, because we didn't think it was necessary, that other form-based codes have, is they have the uses, and then they have or by conditional use permit. Where someone comes in and they pitch a use, and you're like, oh, we hadn't considered that. They want to do a brewery, but it's got maybe a manufacturing piece, so you don't think it's just retail, and you say, yeah, this fits. Like, we'll do it by conditional use permit, but there are some conditions we want to make sure you meet.
Yeah, we'll set the conditions.
Yeah.
And that's how
now goes in front of the
few
ZBA, right?
communities have, is it,
What's
there's
that?
an other
And that
by
goes from the
conditional use
ZBA,
permit.
right? Conditional use?
No.
But I think if somebody
If
comes in
this
and
is
says,
if this is
I want to
an
do
innovative
these residential
land use
uses in a
control,
daycare, and you say, no, we
ZBA
don't
can't
like
get
that,
involved
that's
in
not
those
gonna
on appeals. Has
pass
to
the
go to
straight face
Superior
test.
Right, sure.
Right.
That's why I put all that language in our other zoning to different, make sure
I just
people know it.
think of some of the other ones where they didn't come in and get approved for many uses, and then they got to come back every time they want to change the use as opposed
Sure.
to a list of things a more comprehensive list, but.
Well, I would think that would come under change of use provisions as far as if it triggers that or not.
Right.
Retail, you're not going to make, that's not a change of use, right?
Well,
Yeah.
that was one of the items that Ernie had flagged in, was that change of use could be done through the zoning administration.
Yeah.
I don't agree with that. I'll be very clear about that for 3 reasons. One is there's no means of appeal. 2, there's no means of public notice. And 3, it doesn't create the transparency that we're.
Change of use, I have no
Target.
problem with. Sometimes field changes is the thing I don't like.
Field changes is a deviation from the
you-
plan, but change of use, I still think should have to come before the board, because otherwise it means you could be the neighbor next to somebody that gets a change of use that now Jamie thinks is perfectly fine, but does not meet our zoning.
Well, the theory behind it, and I have no heartburn one way or another, and not to get off topic, is that if it's a permitted use, if they come here, there's no reason why you would deny it. It is the theory behind it, but certainly up to the board how they want to do that, and I have no.
I think the
issue on
problem is there's no public notice tied to it, so a neighbor does not have any notification of a change of use.
Well, whatever they change, you can't violate the zoning as to.
Let's get back on
boat.
Yeah.
topic with that. I would love
I'm-
revisit it because we can tweak that if you think it makes sense to say
I mean, that's another section.
Yeah.
with notice, but
All right, is anybody ready to make a motion to advance this?
Sounds like you are.
I made that motion.
What motion?
What do you want,
There are
John?
all kinds of things you discussed here that,
Well, I understand, but
We said to put in the conditional use permit.
Are we
And
it's in there, right?
doing that?
Okay.
in the table and the uses.
Yeah, it's easy.
as written.
Voting on something, or have we
Just
just
to
given them
advance it.
changes?
There's
We do have changes.
There's two changes we're gonna make. We're gonna,
Otherwise, they're gonna come back and spend another 2 hours here going over the same.
we're gonna add some language for Ernie to look at for uses that aren't listed here.
Right, for the conditioning. by
That'll
the conditional
be
use permit.
allowed
I
by
appreciate it.
CUP by the
Everybody said it was
board.
a pain in the ass.
I
And
am-
then
But that's what I like.
I'm gonna tweak the language of the commercial space, where we talk about the payment in lieu, and add in such as payment in lieu, phasing, tying it to COs, things like that. So it's like an example. So those are the two takeaways. As far as change. I think, right?
You finished drawing.
Yeah, I think the
So
only
we
other,
need to
the only other thing
vote
is
to
on
move
the,
it
on the
forward?
table, the sheet you were just looking at with the uses. We want to fix a couple of the references. Now that Ernie's put it into the zoning, we could fix a couple of the references to where some of the things are found, architectural and all that. And on the drawings, we should show the 45 feet for the principal height and the setback range on those graphics so people understand.
So we're gonna rename the zoning.
And rename it. The Dove Village District? Is that-
Town Center Dove.
Oh, come on, don't make it longer.
Well, it's already.
Keep it simple.
with your
Dove
discussion
district.
about garden style apartments.
Yeah, we'll define that.
Town center dubbed it.
There should be.
Yep.
Do we
Thanks for
need
that,
to
Ernie.
vote
Town
to
center
move it
DD,
forward?
double D.
Town Center Dove District.
Do we need to vote to move it forward?
I think we're still figuring that out.
You have a
I'm not sure.
motion.
I can't, I don't
No,
know.
just to,
Definition
we
of,
want to send these guys back with these corrections.
So do it.
Nobody has anything else, so when they finally come back, we'll vote.
Yeah.
I think you're definitely, with this, gonna be, January sixth, I think it's the first meeting in January. You're gonna be in January, at least for the town center district,
I know.
just because of the numerous changes tonight.
Okay.
Probably won't have them reviewed in time to get the, so.
We could get these together with you so that on Friday, if you want the attorney to look at them.
Yeah, I mean, she said she would get it done by Friday, so,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, we can work
Yeah,
on
sure, all right.
between tomorrow and Friday morning.
And not notice it, or does it have to be noticed because they changed?
You have to notice it.
So do you see this showing up at the December 16th public hearing or just in January?
Well, let's see what,
Okay,
we get back
Yep.
from.
I would try to do it this month if you can, because if you make road changes, you have to re-advertise.
right.
So,
And I won't be here at that one to throw any
Oh.
shade.
Someone goes,
That's the one.
Nice and easy.
It just means when it goes to public vote, I'm gonna be a giant
carrier
pain in the
pigeon.
ass.
A carrier pigeon will come knocking on the window.
it's good having other minds.
So,
I mean, if you have things you want to discuss, please send them.
don't adjourn yet.
Maybe, depending on like timing wise, I'm trying to think, the 16th is a Tuesday, I'm gonna be in,
I'll put
I
a
will
list
actually
together
be
and send it to you in the
driving
morning before we
from
make the
New
changes.
Jersey to Baltimore Tuesday night.
Missing.
Yeah, yeah, look at it.
But if you have things, please send them to Barbara and myself, and have to voice your concerns or changes.
There's a motion. Did you get a second?
I'll second it, if we need a
I don't
motion.
know, I got a lot of.
We all said yes.
We all
I
said
thought I
yes.
wanted to put it on the, post it. We're gonna move forward, everybody agrees?
Yes.
Shepherd just need a sense of the board, right?
Yes.
Yes.
All right. Thank you, guys.
You're very welcome. I was just saying to Ernie, we'll put together a list and get it out to Ernie first thing in the morning so that he can see if we're missing anything, and then we'll proceed with the changes. And you can have your legal counsel take a
So at the
look.
next meeting, presumably, we'll just approve it, right? We won't need to debate it.
please, Scott.
Ron's gonna be there.
Wishful thinking.
Well, it's gonna be a public hearing, so.
Yeah, somebody could
up
come
and
in.
say, you know what, we gotta,
You thought about more?
Yeah,
you might wanna tweak it, and then you'll have another one.
This was more
but it should be just very quick and easy.
Should be, yeah. I agree with you.
Well, you would have been bored if we just.
Well, that's true. You made it worth the try.
If I hadn't shown up, you probably could have had an extra beer with dinner or a post dinner.
Take care,
I told
thanks,
my wife-
thanks, guys.
I told my wife, I said, we beat this up so much, I said, we're gonna be in and out in a half an hour.
I don't know why you would
I
ever
was
say
so-
that. I don't know why you would ever say
Kiss
that.
of death.
So, Mr. Chairman.
Yes.
The only other thing we had on the docket for tonight
Right.
was, the first one on the notice is, are you in favor of amendment number 1, for the innovative land use authority? So what happened was I inadvertently crossed out the wrong line, the first one that gives you the authority for just your basic zoning ordinance.
Right.
So what I did was I rewrote that, to just add that line back in. So it says now authority for this ordinance includes the power to adopt innovative land use controls pursuant to RSA 74-16-2, granted power including but not limited to the specific methods of innovative land use controls contained in, it goes on, and it says to include. So I added all that back in at the beginning,
Okay.
and it's just, I apologize for that, but if you want to vote to move that one forward,
I'll make a motion to move that forward.
I'll second it.
Shepherd, aye.
Roll call, please.
No discussion
You have a discussion on this one?
on innovative land use controls? It just seems
We
like.
have, he lists all the ones we have.
I know.
There's no citation for RSAs or anything. We're just trying to add that to it.
So we're just adding the citation.
Yes,
around
and he
the
made a
RSA.
mistake
On the
on,
change, I saw
on
the
the change that we
on
had
it.
already
Yeah, there was some
approved.
crossed out, but
So now we're reapproving the approved.
All right, because I had read through it and I was trying to
that's
catch.
all it is.
Okay, I just want to make sure I'm.
Anybody agree?
Yeah, it's just so the record reflects it when they go back.
Yeah, I
and look at
second
the
it.
years. What was
no,
the?
you made the motion.
Oh,
He
yeah.
motioned it,
I
Bob
seconded it.
seconded it,
Wrong.
Aye.
and
Roll call.
Shepherd, aye.
Nap aye.
That's your eye.
Alan, aye.
Just a minute. Okay.
All right.
Anything else you have?
Yeah, the last thing is this handout that confused everybody. I'm sorry, I handed it out at the beginning,
This one
I should
here.
have done it at the end. Yeah, this one, just shows, all of them together. What I did was in the beginning, here you go. It was like, it says proposed language in, or zoning amendment 1, it gives you the proposed language in the white box. In the red box, it gives you the language that would be replacing. Same thing, do that with all of them.
Okay.
So if you just want to, take the time to look at those, what I'm gonna do is, once I get the changes from Mark and Steve tomorrow, I'll get those to legal counsel, and my goal is to have all of these at your next hearing, so maybe you still can get done December 16th. I don't know, but we'll see.
So it's
Good, we
the
appreciate all the work
1.9 parents one that I took exception to. Just so you guys are.
1.9. Oh, yeah.
It's one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
And it's not that I don't trust Jamie or anything like that. What I think is it does not provide justice for anybody that is abutting or a neighbor to
And
a
it's not
potential
in an
zoning change.
Official meeting that's.
Right.
has Video and.
Right. There's no way to appeal. There's nothing for them in that change. In the way this is,
I had offered a compromise way back that he was, no, we don't wanna do it. He would at least send a notice to the board what somebody's asking for.
Yeah.
And then if we had a problem, we could ask that they come before the board. But if somebody wants to go from a hamburger
that-
place
that-
to a
that-
coffee shop.
That would actually add to the length of time, which would be ridiculous.
Okay.
This is trying to shorten it.
Well,
Your
I understand.
authority to make a decision without coming to planning board. John's saying, well, maybe he should send a notice to the planning board.
Right.
So then at our meeting, we can discuss it and then say, yeah, they need to come before us.
All right, no.
That does happen in a lot of places.
sorry, could I also make a suggestion around it that if the concern is that Jamie expressed the concern that they have to file a permit to come in and do it and there's extra cost and all that, why don't we make it a non-fee based application to come in and do it then? So that there's no additional cost or penalty to the person to come make a zoning
Be
change.
resistance, I didn't wanna add anything to the agenda, so.
The other thing,
Same facts.
the other thing I wanted to add to that is that there actually is an appeal path, and that's with the ZBA.
Correct, but to Andy's point,
But
if you're not noticed, you miss your 30-day window.
Yeah, you don't know until somebody goes and makes
Required to
change.
Send a notice by,
Yeah.
regular mail or
I mean,
something.
there is where we could still notice it. I mean, I've read in others that we notice it, the planning board gets noticed, like, when you're making things, but they don't have to come to a full,
Yeah,
the
they have to
downside
show
of
up for a
that.
hearing.
Right, the
Just get a
downside
sheet.
of that process is if you guys look at me go,
Ernie
no
gets
way.
a sheet of paper,
Then they
he
gotta
passes
put
it out, everybody looks at it and says the guy wants to sell coffee instead of hamburgers, fine, you don't care.
And
They don't have
then,
to
see,
discuss
coffee and
it.
hamburgers, I don't see as a change of use, if it's a similar, I let them do it.
That wouldn't be a change of use.
It's more,
Well, we had one guy who used to, that little building on the left side heading south on 125, the low one next to the fence company.
Yeah.
He did a change, he wanted to sell coffee. They used to be selling other foods, so.
Yeah, I would have.
It was a restaurant.
It was a restaurant at one time, and now he's gonna do coffee, and people could go in and get coffee.
I would still put it in it's still,
Which
Well, we had to.
it was the, like hemp coffee at one point or something,
Well, it was
CBD
a
coffee.
Seafood
or-
restaurant at one time.
It was
fried
a-
seafood.
Yeah.
It was a-
Captain Fish.
Captain
Yeah,
Hutchins.
Triple A's got it.
Yeah, and then it was
Captain
a,
Hutchins.
then it was a barbecue
Exactly. For
place
some reason, they
and,
came to us to change it to, I guess they wanted to manufacture coffee, grind it.
Oh, yeah.
So it became
Yeah,
manufactured.
so that's manufacturing, so that would be legit.
That might have been.
And my concern with a lot of this stuff is that there's different parking regulations for different uses, and so that's a legit why they would come back to the board, so I mean, I have,
But as a reminder, I voted against that one.
I don't even remember.
well, you have the
That
opportunity to vote again and shut it down and pass it.
No, I wasn't shutting it down. The problem I had no problem with the use, but they had two drawings and they weren't the same. So they had
They had an
conflict,
old-
they
had
presented
the
information that
original
was
permit.
different. And so I'm saying, look, you gotta present what we're proving, we gotta know what we're proving. And you get two drawings that are completely different. So which one's right? And then, so that's the problem I had. If you want us to prove it, tell us what we're approving, because you get two drawings that are completely different here, and I don't know what we're talking about. So I have no problem with the use, but I had a problem with the fact that I didn't
Put
do
one
the,
in one hand, one in the other, we choose which hand.
well,
And that's
no,
the
they
official
were,
document.
they were showing the same building, and the drawings were different.
Yeah, because one of them was the original when they built the building 20 years ago.
No, they were saying that there was not a
Alright,
Okay, we don't need to go
heading
back
down a
about
rabbit, yeah,
history.
we're heading
Let's
down a
move
rabbit
on.
hole. What are we,
Anything else, Mr. Planner?
Yeah, I just wanna make sure on zoning amendment 4, just you see that, it's just really been rearranged, but I did change the wording enough where you need that one forward again.
Okay.
Because you're adding something, in the original, I only had that you were taking out the ones that changed by statute. Now, this specifying location entrance, you can't do that anymore, it's on page 4.
Oh, okay, that's all the ADU,
Requirement
right?
to, right, but we also added two conditions that are in the statute too. 3.5.1A and then 3.5.1. So I had to split those out to make the warrant article clear.
Okay. And this will be quick. The new state law has 950, or is approved by we have 1,000. And it says, the new state law says, no, shall not exceed 950, or is approved by the municipality. So I think 1,000 is still fine for the new state law, but I just want to point out that the state law is different than what we have.
That's attached, 1,000, right? Is that everything now?
We have 750 or 1,000, depending whether they're attached or detached.
Yeah, 750 for detached and 1,000 for attached.
Yeah.
Jamie?
Well, the state law says cannot exceed
950.
950 without municipal approval, so we could,
Oh, okay.
so I think we're good at 1,000, but it is 950.
I mean, in the grand scheme of it, I don't know if 50 square feet is gonna alter the world.
I don't, just stating it's,
So if you could vote on moving that one forward, if it's okay.
I'll make a motion to move that one
I'll
forward.
second that, roll call.
Separate eye.
FI.
Jesse, aye.
hold on.
Driscoll, aye. Okay, you're all set.
I don't have that document.
All right, last one is 6.
Gave it to us tonight.
Sure, get the second.
Okay. Take your time, we're not in a rush.
5
So
minutes?
Item 6, or zoning amendment 6 on page 7, instead of the whole big convoluted thing with the technical feasibility study, I mean, you have your subdivision regulations, they're pretty thorough. And this one just says, makes it clear that it says the technical feasibility study shall illustrate how the proposed conservation subdivision yield plan meets all the requirements set forth in the Barrington subdivision regulations, additional subdivision. An applicant may apply for waivers, special permits, or relief from the subdivision regulations. All the procedures outlined in the regulations for such relief. However, application for relief does not guarantee that such relief will be. And that was kind of incorporating your statement into the last time.
Okay.
Plus, you already have your subdivision rate.
Right. I guess here's where I would argue on that. Like, I love the idea of them providing a technical feasibility study, but their technical feasibility study for lot yield should be based on meeting all the requirements, not applying for waivers, special permits, or other forms to accomplish it. It's, here's the land as it sits. You've done your survey, lay out your lots so that they meet the requirements without waivers. Because that is the expectation when we talk about yield plan. And yet they keep coming in being like, well, I could apply for all these waivers. Yep, you could if you're going to build it as a conventional, but they keep asking for the yield plan to be based on them getting waivers from the
Or they don't even ask for a waiver.
They don't. They just lay it out and say, this is what it is.
This is gonna
So
be it.
if you scratch, the second sentence, when it starts with an applicant, then it says it has to meet all the requirements set forth in Barrington subdivision, right?
Right, I would, period, end it right there.
So that's,
Like,
That's
you
up to the
must
board.
comply.
All right, everybody agreeing with that?
Yes.
Well, so you're assuming we're not gonna give any special permits?
For a yield
For the
plan,
yield plan.
no, the yield plan should be based on what you could actually put there, which
Yeah,
has been our argument all
Yeah,
along.
without waivers, I mean, that-
But we,
Without waivers,
were you talking, what about special permits? Wetlands
yield
buffers?
plan, yield plan.
Yeah, I know. What, are you saying that it needed any special permits, any special permits for wetland buffers, you would not approve it?
Not for a yield plan.
not for a yield plan.
The yield plan is what you could fit meeting our regulations as written.
Yeah, but my point is, if they actually decided to go that way, we would probably approve special permits for wetland buffer impacts.
there's a yield plan.
Right, but this is just a yield plan
Well,
for a
so what
conservation
you're saying is
subdivision.
that if there's any buffer impacts, you're saying those would not be accessible lots.
I'm not saying it's not accessible, I'm saying put the lot within the,
No, I'm saying like.
You have to, yeah, but you have to be able to reach it.
yeah. And there's no requirement, like, the problem that they run into is they're like, well, we can't go to the state and request a permit, so you're,
For a yield plan.
right,
But to be clear, so you're saying, so an applicant comes in and he puts his road in between two wetlands, but he's got a 6 foot, 20 foot, whatever buffer encroachment. You're saying that those lots are not feasible in part of the yield plan because the buffer and you're not gonna apply the yield plan with any waivers.
Well, I guess
Or-
that,
or, I mean, it's
I guess
fine,
the,
that's what you're saying.
I guess the question is, why would you even think about it when you bought the land, that this would be a potential problem?
Well, because buffers are a unique thing to this town and not state identified. I mean, so any zoning.
Well,
regulation, I
the
mean, if you
prime
have-
wetlands were because they were set up by the state in 1982, the 100-foot buffer for prime wetlands.
Yeah, but that's an outlier of all the other wetland
Okay.
buffers. But what I'm saying is, if the board puts forward and, I come up with a zoning amendment that I want a 50-foot tree buffer from any tree that's over 100 years old, and it gets passed, and they say, I can't go by this tree because I can't cut it down, I can't go into this buffer, so those lots are now invalid. And if that's the intent, then that,
you could have it in the middle of it, you just would have to build a lot then that's large enough to account for that buffer.
well, I'm saying like a road. Use the last
Mhm.
applicant that came through that went through wetland buffers.
Mm-hmm.
Not wetlands, but
Right.
buffers. You would say, though, those are going through a wetland buffer,
Yeah.
those are not
Oh,
that.
exactly what happened in Oak Hill. The road was in a buffer in the upper part of the yield plan. We asked them to move it. They said, no problem.
that's
They
different.
lost a lot.
That's different. You're asking them to move it. What
And I think I'm hearing Andy say, I'm trying to
Not-
just get clarification, is that if a plan comes with it's in the buffer, those lots are not, those aren't part of the yield plan, sorry.
Well, they can move the road or
Well,
something.
let's say they can't.
Well,
Let's say they
I'm
can't.
saying, that's what I'm saying, I just want clarity.
But then that's
Yeah,
a,
I'm-
then that's a
I was gonna
different
question James.
conversation.
What's that?
Then that's a different
But
conversation.
you're saying no, and it's fine if you do, I'm just trying to get clarity. You're saying no waivers. So an applicant can't go to ZBA and get a waiver first, and then come in and say, I got a waiver for X, Y, and Z, so my yield plan works based on what I've done, because I got waivers, and I'm gonna need a waiver for a 9.6 to go into the buffer. You're gonna say, no, that lot are not part of your yield plan, because you need waivers for those. So those are not part of your yield plan.
That's what you said, right?
That's what I hear you saying, I just wanna be, because.
I'm not there.
From a yield plan
I'm
standpoint,
not
you're
there.
trying to get them to, but, so it's funny you're not there yet, like, you're the guy that's like arguing feasibility and cost.
Well, my thing is that right now, even if you did the whole thing, all the permits, I still want to eliminate lots for financial reasons. It's not financially feasible. And even if it has no,
But that's exactly what this does, is this drives financial feasibility of it, because if you're gonna if you're gonna build it now, you're actually more inclined to build it based on the fact that now your yield plan has to really be based on what it is, and you may only want to build out part of it because you're not suddenly
let me give you an
laying
example.
out lots
Let me
that
give you an
run,
example
that
that
are
I-
2/3 wet.
Well, I'll give you an
wetlands.
example though. Let's take the Young Road property.
Mhm.
With 3 lots in the back that I think were not financially feasible.
Yep.
Let's say they could be accessed without any waivers, without any special permits, but they had to put a bridge in to make it happen.
Mhm.
A $2.5 million bridge, plus the roads, plus stormwater management. No waivers required, no special permits required, but it's millions of dollars for 3 lots that are worth market value of, maybe $600,000 plus. So I'm saying, even if it didn't require any waivers or special permits, you wouldn't do that. So my thing is different. I'm saying, I don't want to include lots that make no financial sense.
Yeah, but that's the hard one that's so subjective. You can't come up with a metrics that makes anything work.
But I'm saying that we are allowed to ask for studies.
You can ask me anything you want.
That's right. I'm saying, I don't think those lots are cost effective. Show me the information that proves me wrong.
But I think we've argued ad nauseum that there's nothing anyone can give you that you're gonna say, no, that doesn't make sense. I mean, he can come in here and say, I just bought a tractor for 100,000 and I'm gonna buy 6 buckets of sand. And you'd be like, yeah, what are you gonna make, 100 grand? No, that's not worth it. It's so arbitrary and absurd.
It's not.
But if you wanna stop the development and you wanna decrease the yield,
But Jamie.
what Andy's talking about in strong regulations is what does it.
Let's say the Young Road example I just gave.
I think you're wrong. I think as a builder that you're completely
Let me
freaking
finish.
wrong.
Let me finish. Let's say that span over that ravine was the same as Green Hill Road. And that thing cost the town.
It's not the same. Different type of road.
Let's
Collector
say-
road, artery
let's
road,
say-
this construction, that
let's-
construction. No,
let me
it's not the
finish. Let me
same.
finish.
There's no.
Let me finish.
I can't let you. It's just talk. Nobody has the knowledge
I said to
base.
close off comments from the staff when we talk about the board.
I'm just saying, it just,
Close off comments from the staff.
well, you can have a vote if you'd like.
Let's say the span across to those back lots was similar to the one on Green Hill Road. The town paid $3.5 million for that.
But that's a river.
Are you voting?
Well,
no?
This was a creek.
Let me finish.
Okay, sorry.
I'm taking an example.
Yeah, I know the
Not that-
example. You're
not
trying
that-
to extrapolate a
Are
$3
you?
million.
No.
against
Let me
this
say,
amendment,
let me
or
say
you
that
want-
happens. Let me say that happens. Are we gonna say, no, we have to allow them to use those examples? Let's say it required a $3 million bridge. Let's say it required a $500,000 for the road and stormwater management for 3 lots. We're saying we have no way to say no to that. Is that what we're saying? Because right now, that's what I'm hearing. We can't say no, no matter what. We agree.
Spread out over the whole project, the cost.
And everybody uses box culverts for the situation.
And what they're saying is there's better zoning techniques to get what you want without being so arbitrary and aloof.
What do you mean not arbitrary? I'm saying that if you present a convention, tell me what you would do with a conventional
Against
plan.
this? Are you
Ron, I'm
voting
all about
against this or not?
squashing yield plans. But your argument, as much as I want to support it, just, it's too arbitrary. And it's what everybody's saying, that a developer is gonna spread it out amongst the whole development, or, you know, oh, well, we own a bridge company, so it's gonna be half the price of what you think, so it'll work. There's
Well,
no
if you're
proof,
voting
there's
no-
nothing we can hold.
If he's gonna vote yes, let's just,
My whole argument is that I would like to see a yield plan that is actually based on our zoning, not a bunch of waivers from our zoning to accomplish. That's all I'm asking for.
Yeah, but I think.
Because then I can't, then I, like, my goal is to get to how do we say yes as quickly as possible. Here's a yield plan that fully meets your zoning. Cool, I'm on board with that. Yes, you want to do a conservation subdivision? Cool, I fully support that. I 100% will support a yield plan that is based on meeting our zoning as written. That's what I'm trying to accomplish here when I
I hear
say
that, Andy,
this.
but I guess my question is, if they're actually presented a conventional subdivision that required some wetland buffer impacts, and we would approve it, isn't that a valid yield plan? You know, because we've approved wetlands
For a
impacts before.
conventional subdivision,
Yeah.
yes. But a conservation subdivision is a method of innovative land use that has to be approved by this board, which means we all have to be in agreement that what they're proposing meets that. And currently, there tends to be a lot of debate around it, and I'm looking at, I would like them to come in, when they come in with a yield plan, that literally should take us about 15 minutes to say, yup, it meets all of our requirements based on the fact that, you know, you've done test pits on your lots, you're within our current zoning. Yeah, we're on board with that. Cool. You want to do a conservation subdivision? Let's see your conservation subdivision plan. It really should be almost that easy. And do you guys agree? Am I off base on it?
I would love to opine. I think it's that easy now. I'll use Young Road as an example. It met all the zoning required, then added test pits as a new requirement to make it more things to do. That's why I think, to be clean, the conservation subdivision, you change it to meet all the requirements, but it's the little trickle on add-ons. Stormwater management and road studies. That's not zoning, meets our zoning, and it's clean to approve. But that's the stuff that we keep getting into every time, because looking for reasons to decrease the number of lots.
But we never decrease them.
But if that's the point, just do it right out of the gate.
But that's what I'm
And
saying.
that's what I'm saying. Do it. I don't have to agree with it, but I'm saying do it right out of the gate. I think it's, you know, I'll give you my reasons why I think it's bad, good, or otherwise, but just do it right out of the gate. Say, we want everything right up front, no questions asked. You give us a full-blown conventional with all the requirements, complete stormwater done right up. We're gonna, you know, and then rubber stamp. Or, because I always got another idea, a 5% reduction in lieu of. Don't do any of the technical stuff. Give us the old-fashioned yield plan, but you get an automatic 10% reduction in lots. So you don't have to do stuff. You know, because I always like a trade-off. You know, I like people, when they have a choice, they get less mad than when they're pigeonholed into one box. But if the board doesn't like that
But
idea.
they're not pigeonholed into a box. They can do a conventional or they can do a conservation.
Well, I know, but going back in time, the whole idea of the conservation subdivision was supposed to be a benefit to the town and the world and the economy and the environment and all that stuff. So we lost sight that was the preferred method, and it's no longer for multitude of reasons. But so it's hard to make that articulation for me, because I still think the conservation subdivision, despite I wouldn't want to live in one, I think is better for the town and the environment. But that's for another discussion. But I think
I agree. It's the yield plan piece that we spend an obscene amount of time debating over.
But instead of grasping at straws, put solid things in there to say, this is what it says.
Right.
And there's the last one, exceptional, all exceptions because of the type of land underlying it. So, you know, to use that one as an example is so hard because of the water and this and that, you know, there's so many things. But on other ones that I've seen a lot of discussion, I mean, well, we can go back to relive Young Road. I mean,
I don't know if you.
that
would've
was
done-
splitting hairs, you know?
But I don't know if you look at the way that was all set and you look at the like the initial plan versus the secondary plan, I don't even know if you would have gotten the yield out of it there because of the way, if you look at how their yield plan was structured, it encompassed challenging terrain with huge chunks of wetland part is included in the lots and
Yeah,
setbacks.
so let's not talk about specific. like
But that project's a done project and off, so I don't.
Okay, I'm sorry.
Yeah, sorry,
Road has
yeah,
already
Young
been
Road.
approved and is
Oh,
out
that's right.
doing,
Under
it's under development.
Yeah.
We're not doing anything that has anything to do with.
Yeah, yeah.
So, I mean, that's my proposal on it, is it meets all of our requirements, like period, end of sentence, and then that's the yield plan. And then they can go do it. Like, I don't think there's anything to argue from any standpoint there. It makes it really clean and it gives them the ability to do it. Now, if they want to horse trade something else off out of there, they would have to come in with that proposal. You don't, like, you guys don't have to support that. This just
Yeah,
for me
I-
makes it clean and quick.
I like it. I think it's clean and quick, like you say, but I think it's gonna defeat a lot of the conservation subdivision stuff, which we all know I'd like to see more conventional. But I think by having it locked in like that, you're gonna see a lot more conventional, and you're gonna see a lot of people unhappy that we're not conserving the land like we were.
Do you think we will? I really don't know if we will.
Yeah, I don't know.
I mean, I'll weigh in. I mean, I don't think you're gonna see much anymore. I think changing the lot size to 30 acres, you're not gonna see many come forward. I think that this is gonna become extinct.
Which
Conservation subdivisions, I think will become extinct very quick. I mean, how many 30-acre pieces out there with great land quality that you're gonna get, much out of, but
So do you
Just
gentlemen
personal.
have a consensus on what you want to do with that, Caroline?
I've already voiced my opinion, and
I
I
agree
heard.
with it.
Agree with,
Ken.
Andy?
Just-
I'd go with Andy.
Okay. All right, what's the motion here?
that's a tricky one.
So, yeah,
That's a-
just to remove, the last sentence
That's
from
a
the technical feasibility portion of that.
Right, you would remove from and applicant may apply for waivers, from there down.
Okay,
So that's just one part of this warrant article.
Andy's making that motion.
Yes, to delete
Scott seconded it.
second part of
Roll call.
6,
Yes.
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 No, nay.
Yes.
Did we skip over Amendment 5?
Can I finish with this one? The cost method, the calculation there that we put in there, I don't know if we still want to do that or if that's fine. I mean, somebody like Mark is gonna be the one that's gonna be doing something like this for a developer. Return on investment calculation.
I can take it or leave it. It's so, you can make it fit any way you want.
Absolutely.
I think if by amending the technical feasibility study, the cost study really becomes a moot point. You don't need it if your technical feasibility study is that clean.
Looking for what the board wants to do with it.
I disagree, but I see the way the wind's blowing.
He's already got a petition warrant article ready to be signed.
It does say the planning board at its
What's in
discretion
that
may
bag?
require a study. Should we be requiring it? That's what it says down below, 6324.
Yep, so you can take that right out and can still have the discretion to require it if you want to.
Well, it says that, It says that kind of up above with, right in the 6.23.2.4, the planning board at its discretion may require studies to conform the technical and financial feasibility of submitted yield plans as follows.
Right.
So it's already there.
Yeah.
They just didn't give any kind of methodology. I mean, like you said, you can make it work any way you want.
I mean, I would almost make, yeah, I was gonna say, I would make it, like, if you were looking for an example of feasibility, then you could do it as such, but I don't know if it's needed if you make your technical feasibility that clean.
But if it says we can require financial feasibility, the fact that we have some type of a definition,
Right.
I think leave it.
Yeah, I'm fine.
Makes me happy.
Yeah, I'm.
Go one
I
to
can
Ron,
get it.
so.
We'll make Ron happy.
I think Ron's gonna have to take double his blood pressure medication tonight after this conversation.
All right? And
I
just
guess-
Approve moving it forward as.
Yeah, I guess so.
As
All right.
amended.
You want a official motion and count on that, right?
Yes.
Yes, I made the motion to amend it and to
You seconded it.
approve as
Did we
such.
do a roll call? Or am I
Yes.
losing my mind?
Yes.
Yes.
And we voted it, yes.
Okay. We did. It's starting to go a little wacky here. How we doing?
It's early. We're gonna get you some coffee.
That's six. You said you want to look at 5?
Yeah, did we talk about 5?
Zoning
I
amendment
think
5.
5 was,
Member may additional information.
Adding
Yeah,
paragraph F.
support.
Yeah, that was one that, of course, is related to the other ones.
Is this,
I mean, you can add it in there and leave it, but the reality of it is, if they start coming in with yield plans that meet all of the requirements, it's just there for.
right, but so the yield plan is zoning stuff. But now that's talking about stormwater management. You know, we talked about driveway grades in the past. That's not, on the plan, so that's where going back and doing the yield plan requirements to be what? So it's clear, grades on all driveways, I mean, everything, right?
Come in with a yield plan that would be approved as such, and then we don't have any debate over it.
So if a conventional subdivision came in and they showed you 12 lots, would you ask them to put the grades for the driveways on there? It's just, if you can't get a driveway less than 10%, you can't get a building permit.
Right.
But, so that's why,
But if
These are the
you're
things that-
getting topos of the entire site, then you're almost gonna be able.
Well, I
to-
think the agreement we had with Oak Hill was Scott brought that issue up. He says the driveways are gonna move on the frontage
Yeah,
because of the topography, and the road agent is gonna make the decision, not the developer. He's gonna say where a culvert would really work under that driveway. It would work here, but it wouldn't work here because of something. So I think we kind of settled on that,
the only area where I really have any heartburn on that is, and I'll use the 3 residential lots that were built right between the church and the firehouse. Like, you couldn't make a lot look any shittier if you really wanted to. Or a development. I'll call it a development because that's what it is.
and no, I don't hate it, but I mean, it's like, you're like redheads or blondes. I mean, it met the requirements, other than,
Yeah, you've got like a ski hill in your backyard because of the way it's.
how many people go to the church to sled down that hill? I mean, people,
I don't think you do it in their
yeah,
backyard.
Yeah. Oh,
some
no,
people
it's
like ranches, some people like colonials. I don't allow myself to go down that rabbit hole of I don't like it and it looks like hell, because,
Like I said, they got approval and they built it. It is what it is.
but yeah, because you're talking about lots and you're talking about not in your regulations, you put a definition for steep slopes, but you can still build on them, So the things that you don't like are the things that should change, not the outcome of what it is, right?
Does the lot meet the requirements of the town?
And-
If it does, I
but
don't
the-
care.
So those 3 did it?
Yep. I don't like
don't
it.
like it.
I don't
That's what I
like
mean.
it, but I approved it.
Right.
I'm like, I sat here and voted in favor of it.
So what is your point? Why did you bring those up?
Right, it's just, my point is, does it meet the requirement? I don't have to like it, it just has to meet the requirement.
It did, obviously, yeah, those
It
are big
meets the
lots, actually.
So do we need F? Are we talking about?
Yeah.
Yeah. We don't need
So
that.
confused.
All right, are we getting
I
off?
don't think you don't.
The only
need a
reason
whip
I
and a
would leave
chair,
it
I
in
think.
there is because if you have something that comes in that's a deviation from it, it gives you some leeway to horse trade, so to speak.
Or if Amendment 6 isn't approved
Right,
as written, then we still have that in there.
yeah,
Okay, that's a good reason.
Sounds good.
Yep.
Okay,
So we'll leave that over.
yes,
yep.
sometimes more ends up being.
That's it?
All right.
it?
Any more?
Oh, well, are you gonna bring, the two I would like, one for conservation is post the open space before construction starts.
Yes,
You know, so they know where the edges of the boundaries are of the conservation land.
yeah,
And that's one I would like, you know, and the land, you know, conservation has the little green markers, and I think it should say, you know,
didn't we talk about flagging it, that they had to flag the area they're cutting and not touch the rest of it?
Right. Because
So
Young
if
Road
they-
looks like they did a huge
Oh,
clear
yeah.
cut.
They cut stuff that wasn't
I mean,
in the plan.
How about asking them that I know you hate to impose things on a contractor because, but we should have a forester at least mark the area or
well,
something.
see, that's why, and
It's
instead of
just unbelievable.
that, so personal property rights, if he goes in there before and clear cuts it, too bad, so sad. That's legal and his right to do. But if he comes in for an approval and you guys approve it, and before you sign it, after that point, they gotta mark the boundaries of the conservation area, and then they can cut everything inside the lots. You know, that's still personal property, but if they do the boundaries, then I think that's reasonable and good, and then they know, hey, oh, there's the line, you know, I can't take down those 20 extra trees just because I want to.
When do you want that to happen in the process?
Prior to the start of construction, you know, when they do the site walk
Should
or
be
whatever.
part of the, like, yeah.
Yeah, but that would go in subdivision, right, Jamie? So we wouldn't have to do it now.
Not in
It doesn't
zone.
need to be in the regulations, right? We can just require it as a,
Well, it'd be better if it's in the regulations.
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
Subdivision, we don't need to go, this is zoning only.
Yeah.
We're focusing on zoning only, right?
Yeah, I didn't know if it needed to go in conservation. That's fine, yeah.
Yeah,
As long as we
okay.
remember to do
But it's
that
something to
there.
remember when we
It's
get to,
a good idea, though.
we have
should
to
definitely
update
do
a
it.
lot of stuff in our subdivision.
Write that down, John,
regulations.
write that down.
Steep slopes and so forth, we haven't done yet.
And then the only other thing, to Andy's point, to add somewhere in chapter 6 for the yield plan that prior to receiving any waivers or variances, so they don't go to the ZBA and get a waiver. I mean, is it that important when they show up with a waiver and say, yeah, that's great, you got it, but it doesn't work
Well,
here?
that happened on Young Road. He's got those, instead of the 100-foot buffer, he got 5 lots with only 40-foot buffer
Yeah.
because he went before the ZBA.
And I think that was the best use of the land, you know, to
Was,
me,
yeah, I didn't have any problem.
you know, that's.
They pulled him away from
but-
the prime wetland.
I don't think it changed the yield plan. I think it made for a better thing, kept you out of the wetlands, blah, blah, blah.
You
But,
still
you know,
had 8 back lots. so.
Right, but do you want it in the, well, you know,
but it's
that's
our
why,
discretion, right?
well, that's what I'm saying. Do you want it in the yield plan so they know up ahead of time? Don't go bother getting waivers because we're not gonna honor them.
Right.
And is that legal? But if you put it in there that you can't have,
That it is the lots as approved, as the yield plan is approved per meeting the lots by our existing regulations
without waivers.
without waivers.
And I don't know, I was trying to read and listen at the same time, and I don't know where it would fit or if it, but I think it would be,
Well, waivers are in the subdivision regulations. It would be,
well,
whatever the ZBA.
zoning waivers,
Could be
Yeah.
zoning.
Could be zoning.
So, I mean, if it's frontage requirements, I mean, you can go to the ZBA and say, listen, I could get 6 lots,
Right.
or I could get a 7th one if you let me go 225 instead of 300, and they give it to them.
Yeah,
You're
well,
stuck with it. But if you put in there that, you know, we're not gonna honor those waivers, then you can say, go back, you know.
We're not going to honor any waivers issued by other entities.
You know, something to that effect in the yield
Will
plan,
be
so they
sued by
know
the
that,
ZBA.
you know, in the future, you know, cause like in practice, I bring up the access not from your frontage. I think that's one of the greatest ones to reduce curb cuts and all the other stuff. I think that, you know, you know, looking at what Ron left, I disagree with that, you know, going to 2 for a shared driveway, but,
I don't have a problem with like the.
but if they go
four.
get
I
that
actually-
waiver
As
first,
long as we have a waiver for the shared driveways, because somebody comes in and they're doing, let's say, multifamily homes or something, and they want to do a loop road, a private road off a town road, I'd say, good, you want 6 or 8 units there, and you can sell them, that's fine, and the town doesn't have to service that road.
Right.
That, I don't have any problem. So as long as we can give waivers for private driveways.
Well, I mean, actually, I propose at some point we look at the, private road regulations and say exactly that. I'm not trying to block off, the fact that it's, you know, it's a driveway, but it has a road name.
Right.
Just seems like a disconnect to me, so.
I can explain it to you if you want
No,
after.
that's okay.
All right.
But,
Well, after we finish it. So I don't know if you think the language needs to go into subdivision zoning for that, you know, the waiver language.
I'm not trying to close off, 4 lots or anything like that.
No, okay.
I'm just saying, and our regulations now say if it's 4 lots or less, you can do a gravel road. So,
Right.
I mean, I'm okay with it. I'm just saying that we should,
It says the pavement can be waived by the board, doesn't it? So-
can be a gravel road, can be,
Right.
but, yeah. So we have language in this pretty good already. I just think that, I just,
But you had a problem with the E911 thing. because it's-
the 911 requires them to go over 2, there's a road, so,
It requires a name,
the name,
name.
yeah, a road name.
In numbers.
Street name, whatever. And I just, if I see a road name and I'm driving, I don't know if it's on private driveway.
What?
Yeah, I don't.
You just, hey, I want to go down there. I mean, it's still a private road technically, you know, it's just Independence Way, go down there, say hi. I don't know. It's one house, but there's 3 lots.
Okay.
You know, if you want to do something like that, you should put that in that warrant article. Where we just talked about the feasibility study, something where, technical feasibility study to illustrate how proposed conservation subdivision yield meets all the requirements set forth in the Barrington subdivision regulations and any other regulations, or any other potentially pertinent regulations. No relief from any other entity shall be considered for a yield plan or something like that in there.
I mean, just at the end of that sentence, without any waivers. I mean, is that clear and easy enough? Must meet all regulations for traditional subdivision without waivers.
Is that clean enough?
Just if you put at the end of that section where you cross out, just put without receiving waivers.
I think that's,
So
is that
I
what?
will rescind my motion to approve Amendment 6 and make a new motion to approve Amendment 6 as amended with the sentence to say as approved without waivers.
You mentioned something without any other entities. Who said the other entities? Was that you, Ernie?
I did,
You did.
So
but I was just semi-serious.
What
What do you think?
I-
Yeah, I don't know if that's just gonna cause trouble in.
I think
the
it will.
ZBA.
What's
If
that?
Guy goes to the ZBA and he gets a waiver and he comes to us, says, I got the waiver. We're gonna say we don't.
But we're
recognize
saying
those
without
waivers.
You say, well, you're gonna have to do a conventional subdivision.
Right.
If you want to use that waiver, you gotta do a conventional subdivision. We'll honor that. You got relief from zoning.
Okay, that might actually solve some problems that we
Yeah.
encountered.
It says, yeah, right here in our conservation subdivision, it says you can't get waivers, so we can just ignore it for now and do a regular yield plan and figure it out.
Yeah.
But if you want to go conventional, you still got that waiver in your back pocket. If this doesn't work out for
Or you
you,
can try to convince us to give you the waiver.
Right.
Where it should have been in the first place.
Right.
Going behind our
And-
back.
What is
Yeah,
the exact
I love
wording
it.
you
I just
have?
put without waivers.
That would be-
Without waivers.
I'm a
No,
simple.
they do this all the time.
I know,
Well,
I know.
one guy's famous for doing this.
Yeah.
You know who I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, I love it.
All right,
Good
so-
suggestion.
So you seconded, you rescinded that one?
I rescinded it and made a new motion.
I'll second that.
John second.
Without waivers, yes. Shepherd, aye.
Nap aye.
Just here, right?
I'm still a nay.
Oh, okay. I'm an aye. 4-1.
All right.
Kick
I
that
actually
dog a
think
little
this
more
will-
next time.
This will make our approval process much easier.
Yeah,
I agree.
that's right.
5, 6.
Any new business?
But it may mean it's more conventional.
Ooh,
Yeah.
oh, wait a minute,
That's
one more
Yeah,
thing
I
here.
really don't think it will.
Cost effective. Yeah.
Ron has the floor.
Hand those to me, Jamie. Here you go.
What are you talking about now?
Surprise us.
Under zoning 3.1.6 and zoning 7.2, I would suggest adding the language, subject to approval by the planning board and granted waivers and special permits. So basically what it says there, zoning is
I
gotta
need
meet.
some
it's got-
backstory here.
Basically, it says in the zoning, it's gotta meet subdivision regulations. So my question is, my concern is, if we grant waivers, does that have to go back to the ZBA? And I don't think it should have to go back to the ZBA. So I'm saying here, with this language right here, it says as approved by the planning board and waivers. So as long as we approve the waivers, it doesn't go back to the ZBA.
But you can't waive zoning, you can only waive your own regulations,
Right.
so.
Right, so if
I don't
it's, if it says zoning, it has to meet all the subdivision regulations. And then we give relief somewhere. Does that have to
Based
go,
on the
does that have to go
subdivision
back to the ZBA
regulations.
because it doesn't meet all the regulations? That's my concern, Jamie, that it sets up a double jeopardy kind of situation. So just adding this language eliminates that concern, and makes it clean.
Okay,
Where was
so
that going again?
Where is it?
3.1.6,
Site plan review regulations?
no, zoning.
Yeah, site plan, it's titled, 3.1.6 is titled Site Plan Review Regulations. All multifamily dwelling units and non-residential development shall comply with the site plan review regulations of the town of Barrington.
Right, so that, once again, site planning is ours.
Yeah,
So I'm saying if we approve waivers, it shouldn't go back to the ZBA. Know what I'm saying?
it wouldn't.
But let's say that you take the language literally, it's gotta meet subdivision regulations. It doesn't say anything about waivers granted by the planning board. So you could make the case.
Yeah, but you can't waive zoning, so it wouldn't have to go to
No,
ZBA.
I'm saying in the zoning, it says, has to meet all site planning regulations.
Yeah,
So that means all without waivers. You could interpret it saying, the planning board can't
Oh.
approve any waivers, you know what I mean? So this just.
oh, yeah, I don't think that's I think that's a solution for a problem that hasn't happened. I don't think anybody's gonna fight you for giving waivers to your regulations that you have the authority to, other than,
Adding this language just makes it clear. It just clarifies what we're doing now. Right? So I would say, doesn't hurt, it might help.
So where are you putting this now?
3.1.6 and 7.2.
What would you add?
Subject to approval by the planning board and granted waivers and special permits. So basically, it makes it clear, in zoning, the planning board can approve waivers and special permits.
You said and 7.2?
Yeah, 7.2, I think, is
Development
subdivision.
of class 6 roads. Yes.
In zoning.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, shit, I brought one then. What's the language again? Did I get it wrong?
Can I just see that, Jamie, when you're done? I just want to see how he's connecting the language on it here.
So in my mind, it's meant to clear that we have the authority to grant waivers.
I don't think it's necessary. I think that authority's been long established,
Yeah.
and no one's ever, it's a problem that doesn't exist yet. And I mean, I know, the only person that's gonna challenge you is in a butter that says, why'd you give them that waiver? I wanna challenge you,
Yeah.
but.
Well, I guess.
But technically, they can do that anyway by appealing the decision of the board.
The 7.2 is the right one, is because
Site review stuff.
in the requirements of the subdivision regulations. So once again, you could make the case that it's not allowing the planning board to make waivers or special permits. And if nobody else said, I agree, that's never come up. It's,
So let's move on.
so you don't want.
What was the other one?
Yeah, you had the
I think
second
that-
one, right?
It's right here.
Oops, sorry.
Did you decide where it was?
7.2 was right,
7.2, right?
was right.
Roads, private roads.
I would add under 4.1.2, access and frontage must be in a existing class 5 road or better. And the reason for that is the next section is back lots. And it includes that language in the back lots, but doesn't include it in the one before that. So it just seems,
What section?
4.1.2. Look at the section after, that's back lots. And that language is in the back lots part, but it's not in the frontage requirement above. So it just seems to me it should be in both places.
Where, I'm not following you.
You're on 4.1.2?
I'm looking, and I'm looking at 4.1.3.
Is the next one, is the next section back lots?
That's what I'm looking at. 4.1.3
Okay.
is backlots.
If you look in there, one of the requirements is access and frontage on an existing class 5 road or better.
Yep.
If you look at the section above there where it talks about frontage, it doesn't have that language. And it
But
just
that's
means-
state law, right?
Say what?
That's state law.
It is state law, but it's included in one place and not in the other, and I just don't know
Well,
why.
because lot frontage doesn't have to be on a class 5 or better road for other
Right.
frontages, but to use the backlot provision, that was a component put into the backlot provision.
But the frontage has got to be on a class 5 road.
So you couldn't do a backlot on a class
6 road, but you can
You could
do,
do a regular frontage lot on a
right.
class 6
If you
road.
put that in there,
Is
now
that- say that
you,
again,
now
James?
you make a class 6 lot unbuildable because it doesn't have frontage on a class 5 road.
Which is the
And
case
that legislation is
that's
taking
that's-
effect in July
that's
1st
state
of
law, though.
26.
No,
It's
state
gonna
law
say
doesn't say
you can
that.
pretty much do
State
anything
law
on a class 6
says,
road.
gotta have
You
access.
can do anything?
Gotta have access, to get a building permit, it's gotta have access
Without the review
in
of
frontage
the
on
planning board.
a class 5 road.
Unless,
Just a standard building permit because it's an approved
there's
lot?
7
You
chapters.
just
that
have to
come
prove
after
the
those words
building
that say
can be
unless.
insurable.
That gives you 5
My
other
brother-in-law says,
parameters,
yeah,
approved by the planning board, approved with your class 6 and private road policy, do a somersault and 3 backflips.
On bad
You
Nova.
know, I've argued that one with Stephen Jeffries. It says exactly what you're saying, and then the next word is unless. And there's 5 other things that you can do to meet those, But the backlot one is that the backlots weren't allowed on private roads, which I don't agree with either, but, it keeps stuff off the road, but, yeah, because it says, and this is for building permits, it wouldn't be for subdivisions, right? It's completely different. 674-41 and access is about building permits, structures structures issuing erection of buildings on streets. And then it says, it goes on, it says class 5 or better highway prior to that time, or B, C, and D, and then unless, then it gives you a couple other ones. Is a private road provided that the local government body after review, the municipality has neither assumes responsibility, so there's all kinds of other things that come after the class 5 or better. Issuing building permits, so that's the nuance. You would never do a subdivision that way, but, so here's a good example, Lee Road, where it goes from 5 to 6, they're on the edge and want to do a back lot, but part of their road's on the class 6 portion, they can't do the back lot access from that portion of the road unless they came to you and brought it up to standards, and then it would be 5. But where that delineation is between the 5 and the 6, if they want to use the back lot provision, they've got to do it on the 5 portion.
Or they have to upgrade the road.
Right. Yeah. That would be a planning board action, but not by right.
I'll tell you, one of the items that I, like, when I think about, like, building and affordability, and I'm sorry, I'm kind of detouring here, but my thought around it is we say a subdivision has to meet our town road standards, which actually makes it theoretically so that a town, that if you're going to build it to that standard, the expectation is the town would take it over. Do we really even care if they didn't want to do that? Could you let them build it not to a town road standard, but an approved
That's
standard?
what I proposed last time. Dover now does not take over any roads anymore.
Right.
And so they have very loose standards because they're never gonna take it over. So they look at number of people and access,
Yeah.
and you got your minimum standards, but they have, that's why that Baldwin one where he put a paver road, it's big enough for an ambulance, but because they have very limited standards and they're flexible with them, because they're never gonna take it over, they're like, you maintain it,
Actually, I would say, I don't only support that, I agree with it 100%, and I would actually give them, to doing, let's say, a conservation subdivision, I let them do it a little bit less than town standards,
Let them do 45 foot right away.
instead of 50.
So into the future,
Hmm.
20, 50 years from now, people say, we want the town to take it over. Doesn't have, you can't.
Right.
The town
Well,
cannot
and
do it.
saying you can, it's your regulation, so you
Well,
can't. You could have
but
cobblestone 16-foot roads and call yourself downtown Boston.
Right.
There's no can, it's just what's the regulations,
just saying
and the
we-
next board changes
You can
that.
you can require it to be a deed requirement, put in the deed. So you could make it a no. But the other thing, the reason I support that is, one of the reasons the Conservation Commission likes to take over, the land is because they say, well, once the road gets accepted, the home association goes away, even though regulation said it can't go away.
Right.
And state law says it
So
can't
if
anymore.
they, number one, it saves money for the town. Number two, it means that an HOA's gotta be in place forever.
Yeah.
Which means they also take care of the open space. So I think that there's a number of reasons why that's a great idea.
I've been mulling it over and my thought is
I have too, yeah.
like, why do we make them build it to our standard? Like, let them build it to a lesser standard, but something that's appropriate
Right.
to
That's
be
why-
there
that's why-
and let them own it.
That's one of the
And
things
as
I
Ron
was,
says, it's in the deed.
Yeah.
that's
Right.
that's one of the things I was gonna propose in the changing the private road thing.
It becomes a
Exactly
private
that.
road.
But the
Yeah,
other thing,
I
the other
agree
thing,
with
the
it
other reason for
100%.
that,
I've voiced it a couple times in the
All
last
right,
couple of
let's-
months.
the other reason for that,
That'd
though,
be a good.
I don't know
I
where
just
you
got my
put it.
tax
Next
bill.
year, new zoning and then.
Yeah.
and not taking over more roads would probably be a very good thing.
I mean, I think it'd be a good selling if you could get it in now, saying to reduce future infrastructure costs for town
Yeah.
maintenance, for the highway department expanding, we want to pass that no new
We
town
don't
roads
do
will
it now,
be
Jim.
taken
This
over.
this is also be subdivision. So we could do it in subdivision whenever we want. So I would say, remember I propose we look at the private
Well,
road standard? I would put it in the private road section of the subdivision.
Well, no, because I think it's gotta go in our zoning because
I'd have to, I think so.
There's nothing
It's-
about roads, right?
it would have to
Talking
go.
about subdivision, so why
it
would it
would-
fit in subdivisions?
I'd have to wrap my head
Part of
around that,
I'm
but
gonna
I,
phone Bob's leading, go the rest of the.
Well, even a minor subdivision, need a road, we could do it. So.
It's, where the heck was
I
it?
don't know. How if you can do,
Can't find roads in zoning, right?
That's what I was like, is it zoning? It's not in the zoning
No.
districts, it's,
Subdivision. Article.
it would be a
Yeah.
subdivision,
12.
yeah.
yeah, I think- yeah,
Article
So we can
12.
add that anytime.
yeah, we can do
Yeah,
that.
that's
But
something to do.
I think
agree with that.
what that also does is that will lessen the burden and the cost on a developer to build out that infrastructure. So now you've incentivized, like now we're actually creating,
Offsets a yield plan in a
Yeah.
way.
yeah, that helps offset their yield plan and builds a little more relief in it. And maybe they want to do conventional, but it becomes a road then that the town never is going to have responsibility for.
Let's make that happen. I like that.
The way I'm looking at this is I'm trying to think about how do we do things that expedite the process through, make it clear and easy, and allow people to do what is reasonable within the town.
And future tax burdens to the
Yeah.
taxpayers by not ever taking over roads. That's, because you keep bringing up, all the culverts and maintenance and, the long-term capital improvements for all this stuff. Never have to worry about it again. Those are your culverts.
Well, this
know?
TIF district is a prime example of something that's a giant tax burden to the town, but
Let's knock it off. But I'm trying to think how you can put it in subdivision. I mean, the board have the authority to say we're never gonna take another road and we're gonna put it in subdivision? I don't know. I'm just trying to.
Still, yeah.
You just-
you say you can build a road that doesn't meet town standard, but you are now deed restricted to it.
No.
It is a deed restricted road.
Yeah, I want to look how Dover did it because, you just say, we're never taking them over in road standards, then you tweak the road standards to whatever suits the development.
Well, we can have our road standard that says this is the town road standard, but if you want to build something less than that, as long as it meets basic life safety requirements.
Right.
Sign off by the fire department.
Yeah,
Yeah, if you're doing a connector road that's gonna be a major thoroughfare, but it's gonna be private, it's gonna have to be built to a higher standard because you know people are gonna cut through, you know?
My one fear, and maybe this is a moot point, by saying they don't have to do town standards, is that gonna allow them to use inferior materials
Yes.
and stuff? Because that, to me, I agree with, and I want, I'm thinking lot prices could come down because, but on the same token, our residents or prospective buyers gonna realize that, yeah, it's not just that the road's only 14 feet wide, but it's that you've got boulders in it and this and that, and in 2 years, you're gonna have boulders coming up through your road and you won't be able to travel on it.
I don't think so. We can still have the same
I
town
think there's
standards.
minimum standards.
We can
But
have-
I think when you,
minimums, minimums.
the argument always been, when you hold them to this higher level of town adoption,
Yeah.
then there's no argument for you not to take it
Right,
over.
right.
Because you
100%.
had the engineers watch every step of it and sign off on it, and then now you're saying, hands off, we don't want it. That's, so still have some standards, but, if they're lower, I guess, lower than what?
No, I keep the same standards for thickness of pavement, top coat, all that kind of stuff. We'll make it big and narrow, 45 feet, a little bit narrower. And then, you wouldn't have to require this. You just give the developers the option.
Right.
They'll take it,
Yeah.
so.
As a resident, and I'm more, this should be the new normal. So there's, other than roads of significance, they never come to the town. So we don't have to plow and salt and sand and hire new trucks, and now we want sidewalks, and now we got sidewalk plows and all this other, no, that's all private infrastructure.
I'll even use, I don't know if any of you have been by it or down it, but if you drive over and you look at Lindsay Point, our road that I'm on, we went and did millings all down that road. It was plowed, I don't know, last night or first thing this morning. The sun hit it. That road is clear. Top to bottom, there isn't a wet spot, a muddy hole, a pothole in it. And in the 5 years since we did the millings on it, or 4 years, 5 years, I have put 1.5 yards of fill material in to transition the piece where you go out onto the road, and one little section where the plow truck went and hit it wrong and dug into it. But that is the only maintenance we've done since doing it. But drive down and take a look at it.
No, and I'd still require pavement, but just a lower standard.
Right,
A good
but I'm just
example
saying
is
from a
Pebble
class
Court,
6
right?
standpoint.
Pebble Court
It's
used the wrong mix, whether
we took all
on purpose or by accident. It was insignificant, but they had to come back. That road's never gonna be taken over by town. So it was insignificant, really. Yeah, oh yeah, that's right, I'm sorry. But if that road was not ever gonna be taken over by town, oh, you used the wrong mix, no big deal.
Yeah.
Your base and that stuff still, I think it's important what Bob brought up about, big rocks and that, no standard. There still should be some,
The
but
same exact standards.
You'll hear my burning barking in the yard.
Just, narrower.
Yeah, because we
Right
gotta
away,
finish a
smaller,
section
like
of our
that.
road.
And like I say, you can require it. The developers are perfectly happy to save some money and stick it to the homeowners down the road. So, they'll do it. They'll take
And
advantage.
it's,
sure.
I don't think it's a bad or a negative, you say the developer's gonna stick it to it. There's enough private roads all over the state that you buy into the neighborhood, it's a
And if I
private
can
road.
get a
Now,
lot for 20 grand less because it's,
they didn't have to do a 40-foot wide road, now I get just as many calls, these people are already lined up wondering when the town's gonna take it over, but, it's just education and buyer beware. Just as many people, that waiting for their water and sewer bill to come. If you're not from around, if you haven't experienced it yet, it's all new stuff, or, when's my trash pickup day? Those are all questions you get because people don't know.
on Saturday when you drive it to the dump.
But, it saves money for the town down
I
the
think that's a
road.
huge
It keeps
saver
the
down the
HOA in
road.
place.
So everybody, there
Weird, Jamie
is
and
a
I
general
talked about that on the
consensus
field
to
trip.
Everybody agrees
do that? Good, okay.
Is there appetite for a subcommittee to work on the private road stuff to include this kind of stuff? I will volunteer for that.
Can I ask what that's all about? More details, what private road stuff?
I-
Like building permits, 67441,
No,
or?
no,
No, what we were just talking about,
nothing on that.
keeping them private
Oh.
roads.
Nothing, just having different standards for different number of lots, length, stuff like that, in exactly what we're just talking about. My main driver is what we were just talking about, actually.
You can have it by the 16th?
Huh?
You can have it by the 16th?
We don't need to, subdivision.
It's subdivision.
Subdivision, we can do anytime.
We can do it any time of the year.
No, I mean, I would propose it, it's zoning, it's not gonna happen, but it's in subdivision anyway, so we can change it
Yeah,
anytime.
no, I get it.
So, John, you up for it?
Sure. Why not?
Bobby, you up for it?
Ask him
Maybe.
tomorrow.
Yeah,
Ask me tomorrow.
One meeting, one meeting, one meeting.
Oh, one meeting I
One
do.
meeting. I'll come prepared, it'll be one meeting. Anybody else want to be?
He'll provide beer.
Do you want to put your 2 cents in on this?
I would love to.
All right.
I want to see what others,
Talk to
others,
the chair. I
others are
nominate you
doing
as the
and-
chairman.
I'm happy to be the chair on this one. I gotta do a little homework. Let's take a while to stick to the meeting. I gotta do a little homework first.
Yeah, that's fine. Yeah, in January sometime.
Yeah. After the holidays.
Nobody else has anything. I have one thing I want to bring up.
Motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Ah, seconded.
Roll call.
Shepherd, aye.
Tessie, or I?
All right.